Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, welcome everybody to the Peabody Conservation Commission meeting on Wednesday, February 9 at 7 p.m. I'm going to make a couple of announcements before the meeting starts. One, Rita Marie Cavicchio has voting rights tonight. Two, we are not going to be discussing the Salem Country Club tonight. And the reason is it was not posted on the public agenda that was posted. We will be discussing it in March. And if those of you who are online to discuss it or hear about it, feel free to leave because we won't be discussing it. All right, starting off, certificates of compliance. Request for a full certificate of compliance made by
Stu, I
Scott.
think you have to read the.
Oh, I do, don't I? I'm sorry, you're right, I do. Where is it? Okay, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions in the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, paragraph 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on a number of people that may gather in one place as extended is extended on June 15th, 2021. The governor, with the governor signing Senate Bill number 2475, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, allowing public bodies greater flexibility in utilizing technology in the conduct of meetings under the open meeting law. This meeting of the Peabody Conservation Commission is conducted via remote participation, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we're unable to do so, matters not requiring a public hearing will be posted on the city's website and an audio or video recording. Transcript or other comprehensive recordings will be made as soon as possible. The attendees tonight are Vice Chairman Michael Rizzo, Secretary Mike Vivaldi, Commissioner Bruce Comack, and Commissioner or alternate Commissioner Rita Cavicchio, and myself, Stuart.
Travis.
Travis isn't here, is he?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't see him. Sorry, Travis. I still don't see him. Oh, well. There he is. Hi, Travis. Okay. Starting off with tree requests. I see Commissioner Bruce. Do you want to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. Anyway, starting off with tree requests on 629 Lowell Street. There was a stockpile of debris that was laying there for months. Came out of a creek that fed Crystal Lake, and the debris has since been removed as of today or yesterday. I sent pictures in to Lucia today. So the work that needs to be done on the stream by the city has been complete. Moving on, certificate to compliance.
Wait, he's here so that he can remove some trees. I promoted him to a panelist. Russ, you can unmute yourself and turn your camera on if you want.
Okay.
Remember you told him in January to not come until he cleaned everything up, but then we found out the work wasn't done by him. It was actually done by another entity.
Well,
and so he still needs to have his trees removed because they're dangerous. So I'm going to let Russ explain to you.
Go ahead, Russ.
Hey, I made it work. It's on. So we have a, thank you. Sorry. We have a maple tree that is right on the edge of the parking lot and abuts the wetland that has gone from being vertical in standing for 7 or 8 years that I've been here to within this past year it's leaning towards the building in a way that is got me concerned that it's going to fall into the parking lot, onto people, onto the building. And so we're just asking to be able to remove that tree.
That tree is still in place currently.
The tree is still in place.
Is that the only
I-
tree? Is that the
And
only
I-
tree you want to remove?
Yes, it's only that one maple tree, and I had sent in pictures for that.
Uh, Any questions by the commission?
No,
Does he plan to remove the stump as well, or just the,
no. No, we don't move the stumps.
right, so I want to make sure that he's not
Oh,
planning to do that.
I wasn't expecting to remove stumps, just the tree so it didn't fall on anybody.
Okay.
Do we have a picture of the tree?
Yeah, it's on my
Yeah.
screen.
is that a maple tree?
Yes. And again, it had up until this year, it had been very much vertical in standing, and the amount that it's pitched is what's concerning to me within the short period of time.
So Mike, would you say like just to guide him that leave a foot above the ground?
I think we'd like to see a couple of feet, maybe 2 to. I guess that helps to promote new offspring, new branches that would come out from the trunk at the bottom and start to vegetate again.
That's fine. Yeah, I have no reason to want to get, I really feel bad about getting rid of the tree. I like it because it's the first one that turns in the fall and gives us pretty colors, but
Is 2 feet enough, Bruce, to leave the 2 feet of the trunk left? Is that enough?
Yeah, you can go 18 inches, you know, you just don't want to flush cut it to the ground.
okay, that's fine. That's easy.
Okay. Do we need a motion, Lucia?
Well, yeah, do we need any kind of
don't think
BMPs out
so.
there, or is this gonna be okay just to? There's a procedure in a form and based on our tree removal program.
Yeah, we have a tree, Chicora, I think is the sort of the name of it, the tree company who's going to be doing it. And they submitted a form to you guys,
Okay,
along with us to get that done. So I don't know what else needs to, gonna
if
be
they've
done.
done that, then you're probably fine. Yeah, there's the application, I'm sorry, yep.
So we need a motion to approve? Roll call. What do we need, Lucia?
So, I mean, do you guys want to ask him, I mean, it doesn't actually say how they're going to remove the tree. Are they just going to come in with, like, it looks like it's right next to the edge of the pavement. They're not going to need a crane or anything, or?
I don't think they're going to need a crane. I think they're, at least what they were talking about was just coming in and then with a guy in the bucket and just take it down in chunks. It's not that huge of a tree.
Yeah,
I
and how
mean-
many, it's pretty close to the pavement, correct?
Yes, it's within a couple feet of the pavement.
So I guess that would be, I mean, if you guys want to put any special conditions, number one, the condition would be that the stump just has to remain 2 feet. Cannot be grinded or grubbed. And then, I mean, I don't really know what else I don't think there's going to be that much crazy stuff going on if it's that close to the pavement.
Everything has to be removed, all the debris and so forth need to
Yes.
be taken off site.
Immediately off site?
They usually have a crane. When you're in close proximity to a building, you don't want to drop a tree in the wetland. You don't want to drop it on your driveway. You know, so there probably would be a crane. The guy might be in a bucket, but they're probably would have a crane to strap to the top of it just to hold it in place while they cut it, lower it to the driveway, lay it down, cut it up, whatever they do, grind the
Okay.
branches, and then get it out of there. They're probably not going to just drop that tree. you know.
Okay, so I have,
If they are, we don't want them dropping it into the wetland.
Absolutely not.
so the two conditions would be the tree stump needs to be left at least 2 feet. It cannot be grind or grubbed. The debris from the removed tree must be removed immediately off-site. No debris to be dumped or disposed of in the wetland or the buffer zone. And I'll write that, I'll put, when are you gonna remove the tree? Do you have a date set up?
We're waiting for this process to happen and approved, and then we'll coordinate that.
Okay,
It's
because
it's a great time of year to do it. Usually you get a break because it's cold and it's, you
Yep.
know, the guys aren't as busy. This is a good time.
I just need a little heads up so I can make sure I get it drafted for you. Otherwise, I'll just probably write it to in an email and send it to you, and that would be your proof. If I had more time, I can just put it, you know, I could write it in an email and send it to you tomorrow. Normally, I like to put it in a letter. I can probably do that tomorrow. It's just a little crazy. I'm on vacation next week. So if I know you're going to do the work next week, I'll make sure I do it tomorrow.
I haven't scheduled with them because we've been waiting for this process to occur. So once I know that it's clear, I can call them. But it's also, I mean, if it's something that waits another couple of weeks, I'm hoping that, and I don't think it's anything it's gonna like suddenly collapse on building, but you know, I'm just waiting I want to make sure we're following process.
Yeah, I would call them tomorrow because I mean, we've been getting crazy windstorms and I've seen a lot come down.
Yep.
So I would
Okay.
just say if you guys want to make that motion, and then I'll do a roll call and then I will get back in touch with Russ tomorrow or Friday or something.
Greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
Need a motion from somebody with the conditions?
Or you could just make the motion to have the tree removed the way for those two conditions that I just listed, if you don't want to repeat it all. But if you want to repeat it, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to remove the tree and with the conditions that were just previously discussed.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
want to do a roll call, please?
Sure, I guess I'll put Bruce as seconded because he said it twice.
Okay.
So the motion was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Bruce. Roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes,
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes,
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes,
All right, so 5-0, it passes unanimously.
Lucia, I will vote yes too.
Oh, I'm
And,
sorry, I didn't rate, I'm sorry, Travis, I didn't write you down, sorry.
We also have
Commissioner,
an
so
attendee.
it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-0, sorry. And I was so happy to see you, Travis, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
And we do greatly appreciate all of the help from the DPW with keeping that end of the stream clear and opening up what they've done with that. So that is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? We do have a member of the audience that has their hand raised. I'm not sure if it's
the question, they have stated a question about this country club.
we're not discussing the country club.
Yeah, I somehow, we're not supposed to have chat on and I don't know how that happened, but I don't know if that person is still in, I mean, if you want me to allow them to speak, I feel like they showed up, so you might as well.
they just put their hand down, so
well, they did
Um,
ask a question in the chat. It says,
That's what-
why is Salem Country Club moved to next month? And I thought you said the answer was it wasn't public, it
on the
wasn't
agenda.
publicized. and that's
The
why it
reason the reason that we're not discussing the Salem Country Club tonight is because it was not added to the public posting of the agenda. If it's not on the agenda, I can't discuss it by law. We will have a meeting next month and review it. The urgency probably is gone because the trees are down. We just have to concern ourselves once the snow moves, where they were removed and what to do about it. But that's, I can't discuss it tonight because it wasn't on the agenda. So,
Chair, just to further more so they don't think that I was worried that people were thinking we were going to be playing preferential treatment, and that is absolutely not the case. I wanted to have this meeting tonight. It is because I got a call and someone said that we were in violation of the open meeting law. So it would be illegal for us to have the meeting tonight.
Item number 1, certificates of compliance. A request for full certificate of compliance was made by Scott Clayman for DEP file 55386. The project was the installation of an in-ground swimming pool at a single-family residence. The address is known as 45 Buenavento, map 11, lot 164. I would recommend we give a full certificate of compliance with normal conditions plus
Has
the addition.
everyone seen the plans and the pictures?
I'm sorry?
Has everyone seen the pictures and the plans? That's just make sure that there's the pictures have been, I think, I agree with you, Stuart, but just the idea that it's good to have everyone have seen the photos.
Yes, I just promoted the property owner or the person who made the request.
Hello. Yeah, I submitted all the information, Lucia, that you asked for, and I'm assuming that that's been disseminated.
Yes.
Great. I think this goes back to 1994, actually, and the property's in the process of being sold. Maybe 1997. Yeah, there we go.
So I would continue, Stu, if you like.
I just need a motion for the full. Well, does anybody in the audience have anything to say? Any abutters? Okay,
As, just for discussion, the property is being sold, so the new owners, are they aware what the requirements are in owning and operating a pool and drawing down water seasonally? Do they have the requirements?
Is this question directed to me?
Yeah, I guess to you. Are you representing the owner?
No, I'm the current owner. Well,
Okay.
the property, yeah. So I'm the one that put in the order to be released, but I know that the new buyers have a pool currently, and they actually are Peabody residents. So I'm assuming that they're pretty familiar with the what they need to do for the pool maintenance, and I'm not sure exactly where it is with regard to our wetlands, but I know that they do own a pool currently.
for the record, Lucia, can you read it into the file?
What do you want me to read into the file?
The condition that should apply for the swimming pools.
Oh, yeah, of course. So I think that what they're asking is, Scott, you already sold the house, correct?
Correct. The sale's gone
Okay.
through, and this is just a something that came up in the title search, which should have been resolved when I bought the house 14 years ago, but my attorney never recognized that there was an order of condition on the title.
Yeah,
The pool,
so
yeah.
it's fine. You don't even have to go on anymore. But basically what I'll do is once I draft the certificate of compliance, I will mail a copy to the new owners of record. I will find out their name and I will mail it to them, and I will highlight the condition. So things are a little bit different because this, and you probably didn't know this, Scott, and you lived here for however long you've lived here, but the content, basically there's a condition and it says, in the event of a swimming pool, the following condition shall apply. The content of water in swimming pools can be detrimental to the wetland plants and animal species. To remove harmful chemicals, it is the applicant's responsibility to leave the pool water standing without the addition of chlorine for a minimum of 7 days before draining per the city's stormwater system ordinance. In this way, chlorine concentration will be significantly reduced. All pool water, wherever possible, shall be drained through a dry well rather than allowed to spread over the surface of the land. The City of Peabody Conservation Commission office shall be notified prior to draining and shall approve the message of draining, or the property owner needs to drain it to a street into a catch basin per the local ordinance. And that's after 7 days of not adding chemicals. So what I've been doing is when they pass papers, I just send them a copy and I send them a cover letter and say, your title's clear now and make sure you do this in the future with your pool.
I'd like to add that it should be in perpetuity. So that passes with the new owner and future owners.
Makes sense.
Do we need a roll call vote?
I'll make the motion to issue a certificate of compliance with that pool water condition in perpetuity.
I second.
Okay, so the motion
Roll
made
call.
by Travis, seconded by Bruce. I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call. Again, that is a full certificate with the pool condition in perpetuity. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
yes,
Commissioner Komak,
Yes,
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right, it's adopted unanimously.
Moving on.
Just one quick question.
Go ahead.
Lucia, what's my next step? Do I contact you tomorrow or later in the week just to? I
As
get a
soon
copy
as
of that too?
I believe I have 21 days. I'm probably going to be really busy tomorrow. I mean, is money held in escrow on this?
Yes.
Okay, so if I know that money's held in escrow, I can hopefully get it done tomorrow for you. It should be pretty quick.
Okay.
You can even come pick it up at City Hall if you want. Otherwise, this isn't land court, correct?
No.
It's recorded land.
I believe so. It's
Okay, if it has
Yeah.
a cert, if it has a certificate of title, it's probably going to take me a while because I would need real live signatures. But as long as it's recorded land and you have a book and page,
I do.
which I think you do.
Yep.
So I can make sure I try to work on it tomorrow.
Great.
If you want to just send me an email, maybe send me an email first thing in the morning and remind me.
I'll do that. Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good luck in your new place.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 2, full request for a full certificate of compliance made by Attorney John R. Kelty for DEP file 55-801. The project was the construction of a large commercial development with stormwater and utilities. The address is known as 47 Tremont Street, map 7576, lots 164, 164A-402. I recommend we not vote on this item and continue it because there's a lot of issues that are undone. They're gonna need to be done. One of the things we do need is a letter of compliance from the engineer of record stating what has been complete or not complete. And the letter has been requested for weeks. I was out there with Amanda, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, and originally this property was 3 buildings on one lot, and the applicant has since split it into 3 different applications or 3 different lots. And the area is just a mess. We need to get, they need to clean it up and get somebody to say, yeah, it's okay to, proceed. So my recommendation is not voting this month.
May I speak to the issue, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman? My name is John Kelty. For the record, I'm an attorney with offices at 40 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. And yes, I did attend that on-site meeting with the commission. And what we did was we broke out as an individual, a filing for an individual order of conditions for the lot, which is 49 Tremont. I would withdraw this request for a full certificate of compliance. And I would ask whether the board would authorize your administrator, Lucia, to allow a certificate of occupancy to issue for the building that Mr. Denisco has completed. They're still working inside. There's still work to be done, but with respect to that particular property, the infrastructure is fully functional. All of the rain gardens that apply to that particular piece of property are constructed. We have filed for 49 for its own order of conditions, and at some point we'll come back seeking a partial certificate of compliance for number 47, which is the building that you saw, the members, Amanda and the chairman, who were out on site. They were able to see that building in its state of completion. So I would withdraw this request for full certificate of compliance. Tell you that 49 will have its own order. We're hopeful that has been filed, and ask that that Lucia be able to sign off on the routing slip with respect to occupancy of the gym that is almost completed, so that it's Peabody Basketball Association that is going to be the principal user, and we're hopeful that they can be in there actually this spring.
I would offer, the last time I was there, and I pointed it out to the owner, there is no electricity in the building yet. And I'm assuming there's also no heat. The road that was constructed has a huge pothole in it, and the area itself is just unsafe in terms of traversing and going. I think we need the owner to show us the status of his completion, and we need the building inspector to tell us that the area is safe for transit. Because there's a bunch of concerns about moving storm drains and issues that need to be done. So at this point, I can't in good conscience support a request for certificate of occupancy until it can be occupied.
Well, the occupancy itself is more in the purview and in the jurisdiction of the building commissioner. I'm sure that he would not issue the certificate of occupancy until such time as any make-safe issues that you've indicated were properly addressed. After the meeting that we had on site and before the storm, the owner was able to get a recommendation completed with respect to stabilization of some of the front of the property, and he put socks, silt socks around the catch basins that could possibly have been exposed to melting snow and ice. As it happened, I don't think that this particular storm posed any threat or risk to that particular piece of property because of its nature being an ice storm. However, he did install that stabilization materials that were recommended that day, and we're not asking for occupancy to issue from the building commissioners tomorrow, but at such time as it comes across the Lucia's desk as to the building commissioner suggesting that he's prepared to issue an occupancy, they would need that box, the sign off from the commission. And that's what I'm asking for, not a certificate of compliance. And only at the appropriate time, a certificate of occupancy, which I think might be before your March 9th meeting.
Through the chair.
Uh,
So Jack, I have a question. So with regard to your new request, is there anything in Will Politz's January 27th comments and review that would fall, that would show that they're not taken care of at this time? Are there any of these things on his list relative to your building?
Yes, there is one issue in which the department has pointed out that our pipes, the physical infrastructure drain pipe is not centered in an easement. And so they will, although it's not under the building, the easement does, we're gonna have to move the easement off of the building and then relocate the pipe, the two sections of pipe underground to put them closer, much closer to the center of that easement. I believe that's the only physical work that is going to need to be done. And that's also not near the jurisdiction of the commission. The jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission is all in the forward Tremont Street end of the property, where portions of the, I believe that's the Lawrence Brook, come through the property and see daylight. And we have a very aggressive planting scheme that is to be undertaken. And that's why we filed the complete notice of intent for that particular lot, because that planting that is necessary where the Lawrence Brook sees daylight, that's necessary, still needing to be done, and will be done by Michael Bonfiglio, the owner and applicant for 49 Tremont. But as to the building that's there and ready to go, I believe there are no infrastructure, but for the one I just mentioned, moving the pipe in the easement.
Is that a sewer pipe?
That is, I believe, yes, I do believe that is sewer. Yes.
I would have to venture to guess that if we release this, I think the building department most likely wouldn't issue an occupancy permit until the sewer is relocated, I guess.
I would expect that to be the case, yes.
Through the chair, what came first? What comes first, chicken or the egg? I mean, we give our blessing and then they hold it up, or
Well, you're
do they
not-
hold it up?
You wouldn't have given your blessing. You would have only allowed if there's.
I
a
understand. You
request-
just want Lucia to be able to issue a certificate of occupancy.
Well, to sign off on it, yeah. She doesn't issue it, the department does.
I mean, you're right, right. Jack, I don't know what the right one to do is here. That's,
Jack, I'm lost, Jack. I was out there. I'm not sure which property you're looking to get a certificate for, if it's the one on Tremont or the basketball courts. And the basketball courts got, from what I'm getting, roof drains go directly into Lawrence Brook at this point.
No,
And it needs,
no. His roof drains go into catchment areas at the base of the roof drains, and their infiltration pits with then eventual discharge into, but no, we're not directly into the Lawrence Brook at all.
No,
That's
through the
not
chair,
being-
that was per sheet 5 of 9 dated 4/23/2019. And that was what we discussed at the meeting with Will Politz, and he brought up, I wrote it down and I'm looking right at it, roof drains are going directly into Lawrence Brooks. This needs to be remedied. See sheet 5 of 9 dated 4/23/2019.
Okay,
Okay. We also have on this list, sewer test has not been done. Original
Yeah, there were-
trash racks need to be replaced. Has any of this been done?
some,
Porous pavement has not been installed. Only one rain garden has been installed.
that's correct.
Riverfront plantings have not been installed, but I don't believe
That's
the
correct.
riverfront plantings are on the basketball court site.
That's
correct?
correct. They're on
Yeah.
number 49.
Yeah.
And the rain garden that's not complete is on number 45, that has never begun construction, and his order has expired. And if he is intent upon building a building, he's going to need his own order of conditions for that front
Right.
building.
According to my list, the as-built has many discrepancies. Diameter slope of the drain needs to be revised. Piping leaving the vault needs to be shown. Catch basin rims may need to be adjusted. The as-built does not show the right elevations on the plan. There's a bunch of things on this list that need to get done before we can, allow you to proceed. Because you'll never come back. We'll say, go ahead and do it, and then people will start using it. Will Pollitt's wanted the sewer moved in sections before DPS will sign off. Original plan has 3 commercial buildings, and the issuance for the OC has been subdivided into 3 lots. Only 1 building exists, which you said would be 3 separate filings at this point. So it's like asking Lucia to sign off on something that we can't support. I don't think is fair. So my recommendation would be not to vote, and I'd be looking for, is anybody else in the audience wish to comment?
I don't see any hands raised, but I wrote down that Attorney Kelty said he was withdrawing the request for certificate of compliance.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, so you,
But at the same time, I don't think that that the commission can support your signing off on anything until this list gets, finished.
some
That's my
of them are Department of Public Service issues, which I would expect that they would not sign off for an occupancy if they're not satisfied, which are issues somewhat independent of the Conservation Commission. I'm not saying they're not related. I just mean that every department has its purview in which it's looking for certain things to be done. And you're right, that we did have a meeting as well on that 27th. We were able to have a meeting last week with Will to go over what's going to be necessary moving forward, and we've resolved that. So
through the chair, in the sake of time, it's obvious that you guys do not want to vote on the verbal for an occupancy permit. So why don't we just wait until a couple days before they're actually going to request the occupancy permit? Bob gets in touch with me, and then I go out to the site, I take some pictures, and then if anyone wants to meet me out there, you make the determination then and there, not right now. Because I would agree, it's a little hard to say now, knowing what the site looked like a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Okay, for the record, the client has withdrawn the request as of tonight for a full
Request
certificate
for
of
a full
compliance.
certificate of compliance.
And we need a vote to say, well, if we're not going to vote on it, I don't need a vote.
well, you might vote to allow me to withdraw.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Allow you to do what?
To
To
withdraw
withdraw.
the request for
Withdraw.
the certificate.
You can withdraw. It's okay, Jack.
Okay, you might want to vote on that.
Okay.
Do I have a
Mayor?
motion to accept the withdrawal of the certificate of compliance
make that-
request on
I'll make that
55-801?
I'll make that motion.
Seconded.
All right, so a motion to allow the withdrawal of the request for certificate of compliance on 55-801 as made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Mr. Wojek. I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call. Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
yes,
Commissioner Komak,
Yes,
Commissioner Wojek,
Yes.
Commissioner Kavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so it is withdrawn 6-0. And Jack, do you think that's a fair?
Yes, yes, I'm very pleased with that. Thank you. My granddaughter would tell me my voice was getting a little feisty.
Feisty? No,
Yeah, no,
You.
she says, Pop, I hear a feisty tone.
not you, Jack. Ready to move on?
yes.
Item 3, continued request for a full certificate of compliance made by Attorney Matthew Snell on behalf of Stall USA, Inc. for DEP file 55312. The project was the construction of a service building with associated appurtenances in land grading. The address is 13 Corwin Street, map 92, lot 6, Peabody, Mass. Attorney Snell has requested a continuance until March.
I vote to issue a continuance till March meeting.
I'm gonna
Second.
sorry.
Seconded.
I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call. So that was made by Mr. Rizzo, seconded by Travis, and the roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
yes,
Commissioner Komak,
yes,
Commissioner Wojek,
Yes.
Commissioner Kavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so 55-312 has been continued until March 9th.
can we just add number 4 at the same time? We have to read that one over.
I think by law we have to read it,
Okay,
but hopefully it'll take a second. Again, there's a request for continuance until March. Item 4, a continued request for full certificate of compliance is made by Attorney Matthew Snell on behalf of Stall USA, Inc. for DEP file 55323. The project was the construction of a commercial building with associated appurtenances and grading and mitigation efforts for the demolition of an existing building and its appurtenances to accommodate a new commercial building. The address is known as 13 Corwin Street, map 92, lot 6. I need a motion to continue it until after the special permit from city council has been passed. And a
So
new
moved.
order of conditions is passed.
Well, they actually requested it until March 9th. So because they're not here, you wouldn't be able to discuss that until March 9th. And then if they
Okay.
still don't have the special permit, that's when you would.
March 9th. I need a motion to continue.
motion to
till March
continue
9th.
to March 9th.
Second,
Seconded.
All right, so the motion was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Travis Wojek. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
yes,
Commissioner Komak,
yes,
Commissioner Wojek,
Yes.
Commissioner Kavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so DEP file number 55-323 has been continued until March 9th. It passes 6-0.
Pulaski for DEP file 55793. The project was a redevelopment of a previously degraded site for commercial and residential use. The project is known as 166 Main Street. Map is 086, is that right? Yeah, 086, lot 150B is in boy. Peabody, Mass. Partial CC has been issued, will remain on the agenda until a full CC can be requested. And the proponent has, we've got a continuance until May of 2022. There is no motion needed. We'll see them in May. Number 4, extension requests. I'm sorry, number 6, extension request. Request for an extension of permit DEP file 55847. The request is being made by Community Development on behalf of the City of Peabody. The project is an aquatic maintenance and ecological restoration at Browns Pond. Per tolling, the order expires March 11, 2023. Commission could extend it one more year if they wish to March 11, 2024. The request is being made for administrative reasons. Lucia, you got something to add to this?
Yep, so per the tolling period, it, as I said, it will expire March 11th, 2023, but I'm just nervous that someone's gonna think it expired if like I leave the city and the new person, I'm just afraid people are going to think that it is an expired order and we had it and I want to keep it valid. So if you guys tonight would just be for administrative reasons stating I would put on the extension request, the tolling period language, and that would extend it to March 11th, 2024 as well, if you gave it a 1-year extension. Now you could also waive, give me a variance if you wanted to and waive the local ordinance and add 3 full years onto the tolling. And then if you did, it would bring the date to March 2026. But that is only if you want to. You have done that recently. This wouldn't set precedent. Precedent was already set. I believe it was Brooksby Village. They got their tolling period and then you added 3 years onto it for them.
Okay. Why don't we extend it 3 years to March of 2026?
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Seconded.
Roll call.
Yep, so that motion was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, who seconded it.
Travis.
All right, so you are going to waive the variance then. Okay, great, thank you so much. So the roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
Commissioner Cavicchio. Oh, Commissioner Wojcik.
Yes.
Okay, I did see,
Yes,
I
I'm sorry.
thank you. All right, so that would extend it then to March of 2026. Thank you very much, guys.
The next one, number 7, request for an extension permit on DEP file number 55863. This is similar, but this request is being made by Community Development on behalf of the City of Peabody. This project is the aquatic maintenance and ecological restoration of Bartholomew Pond, Devil's Dishful, Elginwood Pond, Sid's Pond, and Crystal Lake. Per tolling, the order expires June 11, 2023. The commission could extend it one more year if they wish to June 11, 2024. One more year. The request for is for administrative reasons. Lucia, anything to add?
Yeah, and the same on this one, if you guys would be willing to, obviously the tolling is already in there, but if you would waive the local ordinance, in our local ordinance, it says you normally only give 1-year extensions, but precedent has been set at Brooksby Village for a similar project because it's aquatic maintenance. So it would expire in June 2026, June 11th, 2026, if you also waived that and gave me a variance.
we have a motion?
Go ahead. I'll make a motion to waive the bylaw and vote to extend to March of 2026.
Second?
I'll second that. It should be June of
I'm sorry,
2020.
June.
Okay, good catch.
Yep. Roll call.
vote.
Chairman Lazaris,
Yes,
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes,
Commissioner Comac,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
and Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
okay, next is a request for determination of applicability. Continued public hearing and request for determination of applicability has been submitted by Anthony Capichetti for Hayes Engineering for Mills 58-2 LLC, care of Edward Greeley, the applicant owner. The proposed work is the construction of a parking area and stormwater infiltration system for rooftop runoff within 100 feet of an isolated vegetated wetland under local jurisdiction. The property is known as 58 Pulaski Street, map 53, lot 87, Peabody, Mass. Did we get new plans yet? Lucia?
I received them yesterday and I sort of looked at them today, but not really.
Okay, so.
I did promote the applicant. He is a panelist now. He is unmuted and turned his computer or his whatever, the camera on. So you can ask him. I'm not sure if he wants to present tonight or if you guys even want to hear him present. So.
Tony?
How you doing, Chairman Lazarus? I just want to be brief tonight and give the commission an update. It's been a while since we've been in front of you, and we've made some revisions. We had some talks late last week with Will Politz about how to handle the stormwater for the site. There is a high groundwater table out there, so we kind of came up with this idea. We looked at pervious pavement. We weren't able to do that because the cross section required would still put us down 4 feet, and the water table's down 3 feet. So we came up with this kind of infiltration trench that will run through the middle of the paved parking area. It's currently a gravel paved area, and we're going to put some trench drains, concrete trench drains, pitch the water back from the abutter and from the concrete apron to this kind of artificial low point that'll run down. These trench drains have a 4-inch PVC pipe Schedule 80, so it'll handle the.
Are you sharing your screen? Because I don't see it. Or
Yeah, no, that's my problem. Sorry about that. Can you?
yeah, I have to give you permission. Hold on.
Sorry about that.
You should have access.
All right. Hopefully you can see my screen now, and this will all make a lot more sense. So just to refresh the commission's memory, there's a gravel parking area at 58 Pulaski. This is what's known as Building D. And we want to convert it to a paved parking area, as well as improve some of the old pavement that's in poor condition around the building. We had trouble trying to figure out a stormwater approach here. Met with Will Politz late last week. What we're proposing are some trench drains at some low points, pitching the water back from the abutters to this artificial low area and the garage floor, and then having a 4-inch PVC that's high just below the gravel layer, and then bridging this area with filter fabric, high tensile filter fabric that would go 3 feet either way, so we can minimize any heaving that could occur. And then once we meet the infiltration volume requirements, it would flow overland to this catch basin here. And then we're also improving the drainage system replacing this catch basin, which is a shallow catch basin. It has a 4-inch cast iron pipe that goes into this structure. We'll be replacing all of these with 12-inch HDPE, adding a storm scepter in this location here, and then tying into the existing drainage. The other thing that's been going on here is in the area of this hydrant, there's a lot of standing water that's developed, and it's kind of coming across the slope into the abutter's property. We've had DPS out a couple of times trying to sample this water. I really think that this is if you listen to the hydrant, you can hear noise on the hydrant. I think it's a water leak. So we're working with DPS to try and figure out if it is a leak on the water main, in which case we coordinate with them to have the repair done. And if not, the only other place where the water could be coming from is surface, but there doesn't seem to be any connection to the isolated wetland. But in deference to the abutter here, who I know has complained a couple of times about this water bleeding off, we'd probably construct a small earth dam here to bring it into our driveway. It does all go to the same place. He has a catch basin here that ties into this drainage system and goes out to the river. So we're looking to take care of that. So I just wanted to update the board. We are working with DPS, and as soon as we get a final review from Will Pollock, we'll look to come back. But if there are any other questions, I'm more than happy to address them, or at least take them into consideration as we move forward.
I have one question because I didn't understand it. At the end of the building where the wetland is and the roof runoff was affecting, what is that dotted line? The line with the round, with the dotted line. What does that represent?
This dotted line that I'm kind of following right here.
No.
So that's
one.
that's the silt fence line. It's proposed erosion control. We put straw wattles or compost sock along the edge of work.
So that keeps the runoff from going into the wetland.
Correct. During the time of the work, and then
Okay.
after the work's done, it's all graded to the drainage system to flow away from that isolated well.
Okay. And so we're waiting for Will to approve it or comment on it, correct?
That is correct.
And Lucia, is he still working on this?
As far as I know.
Okay. So, and I need a motion to continue. When do you think you'll be ready to come back to us? March? April?
I'm hoping in 2 weeks, because Will and I have discussed this late last week. So I'm hoping I can get something from him next week and then get the blessing on this plan. So if we could come back at the next meeting, and if I'm not ready, I will request the continuance right off the bat. I won't come and waste your time, but I've been working with Will on this. We made good progress at the end of last week, so I'm hoping to get something from him next week.
Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak? Okay, seeing none, I need a motion to continue till March.
I'll make that motion and continue this item until our March meeting.
Seconded.
Travis, is that you? Second?
All right, roll call motion to continue until the March hearing as made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Wojcik. Roll call, Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes,
Commissioner Kromack,
Yes,
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
Commissioner Trevicchio.
Yes,
All right, so it's unanimous, it passes, it's continued until March 9th, 6-0.
We'll see
Thank you very
next
much for your
month.
time.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Next item, number 9, continued public hearing and request for determination of applicability submitted by Greg Hotchmuth, Williams and Sparages for JDT Group LLC. Seeking confirmation of wetland boundary.
Can anybody else hear Stuart?
No,
Oh, okay, I thought it was my end.
What?
Oh, we couldn't hear you for
you lost
quite a
your,
while. We lost you.
Oh, well, I was reading what it was said. As of 1:31, the applicant emailed and formally requested the RDA to be withdrawn. They will file an NOI in the future. So they need a motion for the acceptance of the withdrawal.
This
Right.
is for this is for 0 Newbury Street?
Correct. It's land that's behind,
Yeah, I know.
it's off of Route 1 and behind, I want to say Bertucci's or whatever is back there. There's nothing there. It's like just vacant land.
motion to accept the withdrawal of the RDA in anticipation of a new filing with an NOI coming back to us.
Second.
All right, so that motion was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Wojcik.
Yes,
Is that correct?
correct.
Yes,
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call. I can find my roll call sheet. Sorry, I'm like really disorganized tonight. There we go. Chairman Lazares.
I'm organized tonight, better you than me. I'll say yes.
All right, Vice Chairman Rizzo,
yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Comac,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
Commissioner Trivicchio.
Yes.
All right, so it has been withdrawn 6-0. And just so you know, he has already dropped off the NOI to me. I have it, so it should be on the agenda next month.
Okay, good. Next item, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Public hearing on the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation was submitted by Thorson, Eckerly, Williams and Sparagus LLC for Ray Filati Brothers, Inc. The applicant is seeking confirmation for the extent and location of wetland resources that may be subject to jurisdiction under Mass Wetland Protection Act and the City of Peabody Wetlands Ordinance within and surrounding the property known as 60 Pulaski Street, map 53, lot 85, Peabody, Mass. The issue has to do at this point with 2 feet of snow being on the ground, and we couldn't find the flags. But Chris, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know Thorson Akeley, for the record, Chris Sparagus, registered professional engineer here in the Commonwealth from the office of Williams and Sparagus. And this is a public hearing for 60 Pulaski Street and ANRAD application. Thorson Akeley from our office, Thor Akeley, sent an email over to Lucia this morning, respectfully requesting a continuance so that we can give the snow and ice a little bit more chance to melt, so we can get out there and review the line on the ground before we talk about it, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman.
It's okay by me. Do I hear a
Through the
motion?
chair, before, it looks like there's already a hand up in the audience. I know that there's a group of neighbors that might be interested in hearing this. I did reach out to a city councilor to let her know it was being continued, but we might want it before it gets continued. I'm not sure, because you're not really opening it tonight, so I'm not really sure the legalities. But it was, you know, in a newspaper and the abutters were notified, and there is a hand up. So I just feel like we might want to have them talk quickly.
That's fine. And this is Robert Antonucci. Is that who's got his hand up?
Yes. can allow him to speak. Hopefully this isn't a Zoom bomber, because I feel like everyone who was supposed to be here knew that the meeting was being continued, but I will allow them to speak and quickly remove them if they are a Zoom bomber.
Keep your finger on that mute button. Go ahead. Robert, you're on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry if I'm being viewed as a Zoom bomber. I was interested in whether you were going to be speaking about the Salem Country Club issues this evening.
We are not. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the meeting. The main reason we're not is because the Salem Country Club was not listed on the public posting for tonight's agenda. And I need it on the agenda before we can speak on it.
Okay,
So
thank
it will
you.
be
I received the notification that it was going to be discussed, so that's why I tuned in, but I'll sign off and I'll look for a future date. Thank you for your help.
It will be, we'll see you next month. And
Okay,
thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. I need a motion to continue the abbreviated notice of resource delineation.
Motion to continue, item 11, 60 Pulaski Street, until we have better weather so we can do a better site visit.
Seconded.
Till March.
Yes, March. There won't be any snow in March.
I'll put that's in the minutes now. So
So that motion to continue until March 9th. I mean, my plan is, and I'm sure it's Thor's plan as well, as soon as we get a break of, thaw, we're going to try to run out there ASAP, because we are going to get another storm. So we want to be proactive. But anyway, so that motion was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Wojcik. Roll call. Chairman Lazares,
yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wojcik,
Yes.
and Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so it is continued until March 9th, hopefully better weather, 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Item 11, which is 10 and 12 Monroe Street. Public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by Sean O'Neill, the applicant. Owner of record is OHC Walnut Place LLC. Proposed work is the construction of a duplex condominium with bordering land subject to flooding. Property is known as 10 Monroe Street, map 85, lot 2H, Peabody, Mass. Everybody hear me? Okay. Are you the?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Chris Sparagus again. May I ask a question of you and Lucia? These two properties, the property number 10 and number 12, are sort of interrelated. Is it the practice of the commission to allow two public hearings to be opened at once, to talk about them at the same time? What's been the practice of the commission before? I'm happy to do them that way or separately.
well, they're two separate notices. I don't know if we can do that.
Okay. All right, we can talk about number 10 then. That's the one that that Mr. Chairman just announced. So we can take them one at a time. So again, Mr. Chairman, Chris Sparagus from the Engineering and Survey Office of Williams and Sparagus. And Lucia, is it okay to share my screen?
Did anybody get plans? 'Cause I had no drawings. for
It should
either
be on the
site.
OneDrive. Really?
Yeah,
Let me just check. Whoops, they should, I would hope
Yeah,
they're on there.
I looked at the property on the city's website, but I didn't see. There's 10 and 12.
You just have to, you had to go all the way.
There it is.
Wait, did you, maybe I don't. Oh, wait, hold on. The plans might be. Yeah, they sort of did this together. Yeah, I guess where is the plan? That
No,
is a
they're not
very
on
good
it- They're not on
question.
either one. They weren't on either.
All right, so Chris, you're gonna definitely have to share your screen. I thought that they were lumped into the NOI.
Yeah,
Hold on.
they were separate files.
We still did not get that cut fill chart though that I requested a few days ago or last week.
Yep, I'll explain that. I'm still working on it. It's a bit complicated. Okay, so is it okay to go ahead and share my screen?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, let me first start, let's see. Oh, bear with me just for a second.
Okay. We're looking now at 10 Monroe.
That's right. So I'm going to share a rendering with you, and let's see if everyone can see that okay.
Make it bigger?
Can everybody see the colored rendering here?
Can you make it bigger?
Sure. Let's see here. How's that? Is that a little bit better?
Make it bigger.
One more time.
Yeah,
Okay.
better.
All right. That's great. So so we're and I was hoping I could share my other screen here that has that's okay. We'll deal with this. So we are on the eastern end of the city at the intersection of Monroe Street and Hardy Street. North is to the left. So to the left of the plan, that's the north side of the property, and the south side. We are in Ward 3 at this location. And in the existing condition, this property does not look like what you see on the screen here. 90% of the property is paved in the existing condition. And it is covered by pavement, and it's been that way for quite a long time. There's a small strip of land to the north here that measures approximately 1,500 square feet that has some vegetation along this line, and it's the elevated portion of the property. Number 10 Monroe Street is the lot to the left here, and you'll see the white shape is the proposed building footprint, and this is the lot line separating number 10 from number 12. Number 12 is down here on the corner. Number 10 Monroe Street measures just over 7,500 square feet in area. This is the zone that's identified on the zoning map as R2, the two-family zone. And we are at this location just about a half a mile from the Salem city line. If you were to head down Hardy Street in this direction, Monroe Street is a one-way street coming down the hill, and then Hardy Street is a one-way street heading east in this direction. The reason why we're here before the commission tonight is that the property, the entire property lies within a bordering land subject to flooding, BLSF. This is a floodplain that covers, we're on the outskirts of it. As you head up Monroe Street to the north, the land rises in elevation to a higher elevation. So we're on the outskirts of the floodplain associated with the North River and Proctor Brook, which exist to the south and to the east. Of course, as you know, the North River flows into the Danvers River eventually, where it starts to head out towards the ocean. But as you head back upstream, the streams that flow into the North River are known to flood, and FEMA maintains flood insurance rate maps that show what could happen if you were to have that 1% chance storm in any given year, that's 7-inch rainfall. And what we've shown here on our plan is the floodplain lines. They're depicted by these dashed lines, and it's a sloping floodplain because if we were to zoom out, the rivers, if you will, the streams that are off to the south here flow from uphill to downhill as we head out towards the Danvers River. And so in some areas along the floodplain, the floodwaters can also have a slope. So in this case, across this property, it slopes from elevation 20.75 to a couple of feet higher, theoretically, on the west side of the property. So what we're proposing to do is to build a two-family home that'll be a condominium form of ownership, so commonly referred to as a duplex. And this building will be is proposed to be constructed on piers or steel columns. And you can see, if I were to zoom in to the building footprint here, there are a series of steel columns across the footprint here, these little small rectangles that you see that would support the structure. And the way folks would get into the building would be via a couple of different sets of stairs, a landing out front here at the end of the driveways, and a stairway that would go up to a second floor landing here and into the unit on the left. And then a mirror image of that on the right-hand side, a landing, and you walk up a set of stairs to the first floor. The first floor of the building would be set at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation, that floodplain that we know mathematically where it is from the FEMA maps, and so we can design the first floor to be 1 foot above that, which is required by the building code. Then we also have a second set of stairs for each unit inside or underneath the building here and here. And then we have the utilities that would serve each one of the buildings in a small corridor here and here. And so because you have to have a set of stairs that go from the ground up, we're going to be filling a portion of the land that could flood during a flood event with this set of stairs up to the flood elevation. So in this case, it would be the first 4 stairs going up, first 3 in this case, and the first 4 on this side. And then similarly, the first 3 stairs on each one of these would be in the floodplain and would take up space, flood volume. And then similarly, these 2 rectangles that show you where the utilities, sewer, water, electricity, and gas would come up into each of the units. These are also going to take up a little bit of space in the floodplain. Now, the regulations under the Wetlands Protection Act talk about the performance standards. What are you supposed to do in a case like this? So the performance standards is that if you fill a portion of the floodplain, the DEP requires us to calculate compensatory flood storage to scoop out an equal amount of earth within the same stretch where the floodwaters would rise. And we're doing that on this property in a couple of different ways. Our existing contours, which show you the lay of the land, are these lighter lines. You can see it, existing elevation 20, existing elevation 22, and then heading downhill, existing elevation 19. You can see the property is relatively flat. So we're going to scoop out earth at various locations, and where this existing elevation 20 is here, we're going to peel that guy back. These are our proposed contours, these dark lines. And so we're going to be scooping out the earth a little bit in this area here. And then as we head uphill, we're going to be scooping out the earth in this area ever so slightly. And then as we approach the property line here, we are also going to be scooping out the earth a little bit here and a little bit here as well, in order to provide a compensatory flood storage. And the way I approach this is probably one of the more complicated things that we do, is calculating how much floodplain is being filled and then how the compensation works. And each one of these piers that I described to you before, the steel columns, you know what a steel I-beam looks like. It has a funny shape. And it's roughly 8 inches by 6 inches in diameter, in shape. And it has the shape of the letter I, the capital letter I. But what I did when I calculated how much we're filling, I assumed a circle that's 1 foot in diameter. So a little bit bigger than the I-beam, if you will, just to be a little bit conservative at each one of these locations. So I assumed that we were filling a little bit more than we actually are, just to give us a little bit of breathing room. Similarly, where we have the stairs going up, I assumed, and then the set of stairs is going to be, it's going to be comprised of structural members and then stairs going up. But I assumed that that entire square or rectangle, depending on how you look at it, here, the 4 locations, and these guys were completely filled. And we're not filling everything, but I assumed that we were filling everything just to be a little bit conservative on how much we were filling. And so I know based on that, I went and I calculated how much we were scooping out in these areas that I described before. And we've calculated that for number 10 Monroe Street, that we are filling approximately 386 cubic feet of flood area. And then we are compensating that across the 2 lots, approximately 1,000 cubic feet. And it's and so we've provided an equal or greater amount of flood compensation as compared to the filling. Now, you might have heard Lucia refer to another plan that she'd like us to prepare, and I'm working on it right now. I'm working on a plan that shows detailed cuts and fills across all of these areas that would show someone looking at it exactly, we're filling 2 inches here, 6 inches here, and we're cutting 6 inches here, and you'll be able to see it color coded across a lot. We don't do it on every project. I did this by hand to make sure that I felt good about it, and then checked it with my computer. But I can generate a computer image that shows cuts and fills for Lucia and the engineering department to review, and it sounds like that's what Lucia would like us to do. And I'm halfway done with it, and we'll be happy to share that with Lucia and the engineering department within the next week or so. So that's how we are meeting the performance standard for working in the floodplain. But I think personally, more importantly than that, is this entire property, 90% of it is covered by pavement, and by redeveloping it the way we'd like to redevelop it, we're going to be reducing the amount of pavement by 50. And that's pretty significant on a small lot like this. And you can see what we have planned is a new sidewalk along Monroe and Hardy with granite curbing, new street trees along the sidewalk, and then some lawn areas, as you can see here in green. And then enough pavement to make sure that we can park at least 2 vehicles per unit off of the street. So that's our proposal, Mr. Chairman, for number 10. I'm here to answer any questions that you and the commission may have through you.
Through the chair, I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Mike.
So with regard to your compensatory storage, I noticed in your report, these are 2 separate NOIs. So although they're next door neighbors, they're really separate projects, I think. And in your report, you kind of talk about both of them and providing the compensatory storage based on at the proper elevations and so forth. But you kind of mention both properties in each of the other NOIs. And I'm wondering whether they're dependent on each other, or can they stand independently? If something should happen to one project and not the other, can you still provide the necessary compensatory storage? So we have 2 separate notices, but we have, apparently it looks like the engineering and the work to provide the proper compensatory storage makes it sound like they're dependent on each other.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. They absolutely depend on one another. Both properties are owned by the same entity today, and our client, Mr. O'Neill, Sean O'Neill, who's a resident, longtime resident of Peabody, who does projects like this from time to time in the city, is going to be buying the project, is going to be buying both properties and doing the project as one project. Personally, in most of the cities and towns that we work in, I personally like to have 2 separate orders of condition for each address. It makes it a little bit easier when it comes to, the time of closing and things like that. But all of the site work is going to be done at the same time on both projects. And so all of that work associated with the compensatory flood storage work is going to happen at the beginning of the project with the earthwork. So that's going to happen before the filling will take place.
Okay.
And we'll be able to check those things, obviously, before we file for a certificate of compliance request.
And if I
So
could,
I-
this is-
So I
this
would,
is-
I would,
You're gonna be down here for at least an hour?
Probably.
Mike, this is Jack Kelty, and I actually am the attorney for the project. And Chris and I had this discussion this afternoon about providing either slope easements or actual easements for maintenance so that one lot can have rights in the other lot where their compensatory storage is. So that would mean that 12 would gain the benefit of an easement over 10 at such time as they were separated.
okay. Okay, so I would, I don't know if I'm correct, but I would think that although these will be built together with 2 separate filings, I would think that an order condition from our board would need to, I would think should note that the 2 projects are dependent on each other and that they have to go congruent, under the proper word, but they have to be built together. Otherwise, the compensatory storage probably would not work. And I don't know if that's but that's.
Well, I feel that's very appropriate, and we could actually assist with that language at such time as you're ready to issue an order.
Okay.
I have a question. Did you, or how did we get to, when is the flood level, at what height is the flood level reached?
Sure, the maximum height, in other words?
Yeah,
Yep, so according to FEMA and the FEMA flood map, if you look at our plan here, it depends on where you are on the property. So on the east side, the flood waters can rise theoretically as high as elevation 20.75. And then on the west side, it's possible that the water could rise as high as 22.25. And so
that's based on what data?
it's based on the FEMA's flood insurance rate map, which is the map that the DP's wetland regulations ask us to go and refer to when we're doing these calculations.
Which is based on, what do they base it on?
Oh, so the 100-year flood elevation for this zone AE is elevation 19.
Well, it depends on where you are, and when you're along a stretch of a stream, a water like this that has a slope to it. What FEMA does in many cases is they do a detailed flood study, and that is the case here. And they produce a booklet that has the profile of the river along certain stretches. And we refer to that flood profile book in that detailed flood study, and we open it up and we're able to tell how to draw these lines across a particular property, depending on where you are along the water.
My concern really is that data is based on history and it's not based on climate change coming. I mean, right now we see elevation in the Atlantic several feet higher than it was 4 years ago. And I don't know how that's impacting this piece of property in the case of a flood.
It's not. I would suggest it's not. There were a number of years ago that the Department of Public Services, when Dick Carnevale was our director, that he was working with FEMA when they were revisiting their maps and the elevations on their maps. And I recall specific to this particular site, Dick had then Stan Gazowski was with the department, and he actually monitored and used to mark the height of the elevation of any significant storm event. And the purpose of that was going to be to see if we could lower, if you will, our elevations, if there was empirical knowledge that would provide them with the ability to say, look, we took these pictures and these measurements over a period of years, and the storm has not exceeded this depth or this elevation. That didn't work, but it was a good effort. But what it did tell us was that we didn't provide enough information to change our FEMA elevations. They remained substantially and almost exactly the same. And when the new elevations came out, and I don't think that the FEMA is about to revisit elevations for cities and towns in the Commonwealth in any of the upcoming years. When did they do this? 6 years ago, Chris?
The latest flood insurance rate map that's effective right now is July 16th of 14.
So 8 years. Time flies when you're having a good time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the city is taking a proactive approach.
Was it NOAA?
Relative to climate change. I know if you're on the coast, if you're in the city of Boston or Salisbury, any new buildings, they're pushing those finished floor elevations up an additional 5 feet. And they're doing that in the city of Boston. They're going to be doing the streets over again to meet the requirements for 2050 and 2070 flood surge. I don't know if, I know this is floodplain, but I don't know if Peabody is looking at that and for properties that are in the floodplain, because I don't think any storm surge this far inland might not be, even though it's a floodplain, may not have the effects of some of those that's a storm surge you're trying to design into new construction today.
Well, my concern is the Mother's Day storm where downtown Peabody was inundated with 4 feet of water. And I don't see it getting better. I see it getting worse over time with glacier melt and rise in the, if the Atlantic is rising and there's a storm surge at the time of an astronomical high tide, this stuff will be underwater.
I know, but I think that it's just my opinion. You make a good point. And I don't think that that's not something that the city and the commission should consider for new projects and projects that it might be in jeopardy of, being hurt by storm surge. Right now, I think all we can go by are these maps until maybe the city of Peabody adopts a policy to address some of these things now. Maybe that's something for a good discussion in the future, but I don't know whether we can really address that right now.
And just to let you know, Mr. Chairman, we did do our homework. Before we started the project, we started by going to see the building inspector, making sure that we understood what the city is doing today, whether or not they're following the building code strictly, which is the base flood elevation plus 1 foot, or if there was some other standard. And then, we also took a hard look at how far away the Danvers River is and where it discharges into the ocean. And we're over 1.5 miles away from that location. So it's hard to believe that a surge like that would affect us this far inland.
How far are you from the North River?
So from the North River, as it where it opens up down at Wallace Street, we are about a quarter of a mile away as the crow flies.
So the chances of it flooding are less, is what you're saying.
That's right.
Because I envision with no major intervention, the river will overflow its banks again and decimate, neighborhoods in that area. It doesn't sound like you're in that area, though.
No, just to give you an idea, down where the North River opens up again, and where it opens up open air down near that street that I mentioned, the base flood elevation down in that location is elevation 15.
And this is proposed as elevation what?
The first floor elevation is up at 23, 25.
I mean, I just don't want to be a surprise, 10 years from now and say, gee, we should have. But I understand you're basing this on best information today.
Yeah, and that's it's going to be just to put it into perspective. Elevation 2325 for a first floor is going to be that's going to put us approximately 5 feet above the ground today.
Right.
And if we have flood waters 5 feet above the ground on this property, we've got some problems in this neighborhood.
Currently, with all the paved area, does that flood now?
So I have never seen it flood. I know that in the recent, how we've had some recent storm events, Mr. Chair, before the last snowstorm leading into the winter, we had some pretty heavy rainfall events. We've been walking over to the property just to kind of, keep an eye on it. There were some sections of the city that flooded in some of those rain events. But with the help of Mr. O'Neill, we've been keeping track of this property just in case a question like this did come up. And we haven't seen any floodwaters on this property this season, this year. We had a pretty wet summer, as you recall, and heading into the fall.
Okay. I'm satisfied you're doing your homework. Anybody else have any comments?
No, I think, don't we need to continue this, all right? Because still waiting for data and that.
Yes.
Right.
Chair, there is, I don't know if it's North River, but there definitely is a open body of water that, in my opinion, would be considered riverfront. Me and Thor have been working that out. I asked him to put a narrative together. It would actually just be for 12 Monroe, not 10 Monroe. So we haven't opened up the discussion yet for that. I do have pictures of the river though, for when you open it for 12.
Okay.
And Lucia, I found a nice plan that I can show the commission members as well, so we can get an idea of the area that you were talking about.
So you can send that in, Chris?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I'm interested in.
you have it tonight, don't you, Chris?
Yes, I do. I can show it to you tonight as well. When we talk about number 12.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Call from B61758613221.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
Just hang up on him, Chris. Okay.
So is there,
Is there a motion?
through the chair, if there aren't any more questions from the commission, are there anybody? Because I'm hoping that we're gonna just continue number 10 and then move to 12, but I think we gotta see if there's anybody there in the audience who want to speak on either one of these, and certainly
That's
can.
what I asked that before.
Yes, there are two hands raised. One is Counselor Stephanie Peach, and the other is a woman titled Holly.
Okay.
So may I promote Counselor Peach to a panelist?
Yes. Where's Constance Peach? Oh, there she is. Good evening, Counselor.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Good.
I am having some issues getting my camera to work, but I wanted to just have a couple comments. I met with some of the abutters. I met with one of the abutters who also spoke with her neighbors. And just in regards to 10 Monroe, just wanted to ask some questions of the applicant. There are currently trees that exist along the northern side of the property that abut 8 and 6 Monroe. There's also a chain link fence that's currently there. It's I walked the property with the abutters this week, and the chain link fence is kind of in disarray and has barbed wire on top. So I just wanted to know the applicant's plans as far as I assume with the flood storage, the compensatory flood storage going along that border there, those trees would be removed and the fence would be replaced.
Whose fence is it?
It's the property owners.
Of 10 Monroe?
Yes.
Okay.
So I can answer that question, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So yes, there's an existing 8-foot high chain link fence. Any fence that's in disrepair will either be repaired, removed, or replaced. But yes, Councilor Peach is correct that along that property line where there is some existing vegetation, we're going to have to take those trees and shrubs down in order to provide that compensatory flood storage along the property line.
Do you plan on replacing them?
Well, we are proposing to plant 6 new trees on the property along the street line, but at this time, not along the property line. If it means anything to the commission, we did also hear from one of the abutters. I can't remember if it was number 6 or number 8. Number 6 is towards the street and number 8 is towards the back. They actually asked us to take those trees down. They were happy that we were taking them down because I guess they don't look very nice.
Everybody's a critic.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, that was the sentiment that I got from the abutter. The trees are more of a nuisance and cost a lot of money to maintain, to make sure that they're very high, they're very old, and they're more invasive than providing to the environment in that area. So those were the questions that I had on behalf of the residents. And then just, it's my assumption that the storage for the compensatory storage that you're adding, whatever plans they are, obviously I am not an expert in any of this, but it'd be made so there'd be no pooling of water in there, and make sure that the drainage continues. So from what I hear, there are no flood issues in this area currently, and have not been since the condos were put on Walnut Street, Mr. Chairman. So I think a lot of work has been done with the additions in this area, and I think that this project, replacing a completely paved zone and putting a lot of vegetation in there, is an improvement for this neighborhood.
Okay,
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
thank you. You have somebody else with their hand up, Holly?
Yes, I will allow her to speak.
Okay.
I have unmuted her. Keep trying to. There we go. Holly, you are unmuted.
Yes, are you able to hear me okay?
Can hear you, can't see you.
Okay, perfect. So currently I'm a resident of 8 Walnut Place. And one of the things that I just wanted to make sure, you were aware of is currently that back lot is pretty much like an eyesore. People are dumping, whether we currently have a boat back there, people dump, furniture. But one of the biggest concerns that I have is that, there's people that are doing drug deals back there. You'll see that in the middle of the night, they'll come and they'll just, pull up in their cars, do something and then leave. And that's been an ongoing concern in this area. So for being a resident, I think this will be a great project to help just improve the community overall and, help kind of build more of a community feeling versus, having to be worried about what's happening, right in your backyard.
And just to add on to Councilor's notes is just that, having some vegetation, it is all currently paved. So having some vegetation will really just make the area look a lot nicer, and I think it's very welcome by our community.
Good. Anybody else? I see. Anybody else have their hand up? Okay.
I don't see any hands, do you? You guys should be able to see, no?
Yeah, I don't see any hands.
Okay,
Okay, so my understanding is this should be continued.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue 10 Monroe, item 11, to our next meeting.
Okay, second. Do I
I
hear?
second.
Okay. Roll call.
yep, so that motion was made by Mike Rizzo, seconded by Rita Marie Cavicchio. And before we go ahead and do the roll call, I do want to say for the record, at 8:30, Travis was actually disconnected. So he was not here for this conversation.
Okay.
But now I will go ahead and do my roll call. I said continued by Mike, seconded by Rita Marie. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes, to continue.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes,
Commissioner Comack,
you're muted, Bruce.
Yes.
and Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so 10 passes 5-0. Continued until March 9th.
Thank you.
Alrighty. In regarding this project and the next one, Chris, can you get whatever plans that were missing, send them to Lucia?
Oh, boy.
Looks like we lost him again.
Stuart, if you can hear us. kick
Stuart,
your
we can't
machine.
hear you.
Bang the side of your computer.
Yeah, you're frozen.
he needs better internet.
Or a better computer.
What do we do, Lucia?
I think he's logging back on, but the good news is this is the second to last meeting that we'll be having via Zoom starting April. I believe we have to meet in person, so.
Yeah, but then that can disappear too. Okay. The question I asked was if we can get updated plans that we haven't seen, like cut and fill soon. Okay?
Absolutely, will do.
Yes, and
And
Chris, through the chair, sorry, if you could, I'm on vacation next week, so if you're gonna be sending it, with next week, you want to send it, you also want to copy Robert Langley on the email. If you need his email me tomorrow, so that I can give it to you. So he has it. He already has the copy of both NOIs, but he is holding off reviewing it until he gets that cut and fill. And he also just got it yesterday, so we apologize for that.
Yeah, that's okay. I have Mr. Langley's contact info, so I'll be sure to email him as well.
if you email it to me, I can send the stuff out to the commission as well. Okay?
Okay,
In
great.
Lucia's absence. All right, moving on to item 12, which is 12 Monroe. And did I get that right? Yeah. Public hearing on a notice of intent submitted by Sean O'Neill, applicant, owner of record for OHC Walnut Place LLC. Pros work is construction of a duplex condominium within bordering land subject to flooding. Property is known as 12 Monroe Street, map 85, lot 2L, Peabody, Mass. And again, we're waiting for DPS to review this stuff, but and we're looking for a cut and fill. And the I guess I'm looking, does anybody have any comments It sounds like the same.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
think they're the same. I think basically they kind of go together. I think Chris has explained it pretty well. So you could, I don't have any more questions relative to, 12, because they kind of go together. So if you wanted to see if anybody wanted to speak from the audience about 12, but I think the people who already spoke probably speak for both properties anyway, so I think you got the.
I think we got it too, but
Yeah.
Does anybody in the audience wish to speak on this?
Do you need to say anything different, Chris, about 12?
On this one, I do. If you remember, Lucia mentioned a question about a stream. Is it okay to share my screen again?
Please do.
Okay. Okay, let me share with you. This is the city's GIS map, and let me know when it comes up on the screen.
Can you make it bigger?
Sure, I can. I'm zoomed in as far as I can zoom in. This is the subject property at number 12. I've turned around. North is up the plan here. If anybody has ever looked at the city's GIS map, this is the condo project across the street, and then another one, apartment project over here. This is number 6 and number 8, Monroe over here. And you can see how our subject property is almost all paved.
Right.
Lucia pointed out to us, when you look at the GIS map, there are some blue lines. If I zoom way out, right in the middle of the screen is our subject property. Here's where the North River starts here and heads east in that direction, the Salem city line here. But if you turn on a couple of these layers, there are some blue lines. Do you see this blue line here?
Yeah.
So so that tells us that there's something under the ground, a stream. But what we didn't realize, and of course we always look at the USGS map, the regional maps, to see if there are any streams or anything like that as we're preparing. But I guess where this blue line is here, there's a culvert that carries water as some of these streams and rivers come together, and then it goes under the ground. But once in a while, like across the street from number 12 Monroe, it pops out and it's open to the air. If you see this piece of concrete here,
yeah,
underneath the concrete, this is an exposed, in my opinion, a human-made canal. It's got concrete sides and it's open. You can see it. You can just about see it here. You see that dark color? Yeah. That's water. And then it turns and then it just disappears again under the ground. And it doesn't pop back up until you get out to the North River way down here. So Lucia found an old filing that showed that this part here, someone had called this a perennial stream and showed a riverfront area that when you draw a 200-foot offset from here, it comes on to number 12 Hardy just a little bit right there.
Yeah.
Not much riverfront area here. It's it's all paved, and I don't know. I'm gonna write a letter explaining why we think this is not a perennial stream under the act, but there's no question under your ordinance that this is a stream and it has a 200-foot buffer, and I'm going to add that to the plan. But I don't think it qualifies as a river under the Wetlands Protection Act. But clearly, I would argue that what we're proposing on number 12 Hardy is only going to improve what little valuable land, let's call it, between the edge of this water, and this property. If we can get rid of some pavement, I think we're doing pretty good.
What's just curiosity, what's the address that abuts that river?
This is the Walnut, the Walnut Place, OHC Walnut Place. This is the condominium project that owns, that's the owner of these two properties today.
Right, but go down screen.
Over here?
Yeah, what's it?
Yeah, so this is 18 Walnut Street. It's called Peabody House, owned by Peabody House Company.
Okay.
Must be an apartment project or a condominium. I'm not sure which.
Go down. Okay, that one. What's the address of 085, 025?
025 is number 22 Walnut Street, which is the owner is called 26 Walnut Street LLC.
that wasn't my question. My question really is, what is it? What's the address? And I can get back there and see the river.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That was the reason for my question. The concrete pad does what? Nothing?
So
Is
the
it-
concrete pad allows cars to drive back and forth over
No.
over this canal,
So it's like a bridge. Okay.
right?
All right. We'll keep looking at it.
But Chris, the riverfront, the 200-foot riverfront is perpendicular to the brook, or to the exposed section there. So there's only a little piece. It's only the part, I believe, that is exposed. So if you drew a line 200 feet where that little black spot is over, it's a very small area.
It is. It would come up, like if you were to draw a line like from about here straight up, it would hit us about here. And then you draw
Yeah.
like a 200-foot radius. It doesn't come on to us very much, but I'm going to add this onto the plan. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I have a pretty good location of that stream. If I can just show you this other plan I have real quick.
Is this building going to be on posts as well?
Yes.
Yes, both of them will be. Do you see this plan that I just put up on the screen here?
Yeah.
This is the condominium plan for Walnut Place.
Okay.
And here's our property over here, number 10 and number 12 Monroe. Do you see this this shape here? It's a culvert that goes underneath, and it's called here Box Canal. It goes underneath their parking lot, underneath the building. And this is where it comes out here, where that piece of concrete is. So
Yeah.
I have a good location from this plan. I'm going to take this and add it to our plan.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on the commission?
No.
Anybody from the audience? I don't see any hands raised. I get a motion to continue?
Well, is Stephanie want to speak, or are we all set?
Does who want to speak?
Stephanie, she's popped up. I don't know if she's.
I don't know if she's still there.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Vice
okay.
Chair. I just got disconnected, so I joined again. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we continue item 12 on the row. To our next
Second.
meeting.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Motion made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Comack. Roll call, Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yeah, I don't know if it's there anymore.
I think he stepped away.
okay.
Mm,
Okay, so Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
Commissioner Trivicchio.
Yes.
All right, so I guess it passes 4-1 with Mike Vivaldi not voting because he's not present. Was he here for the other one? Because I wrote it down that was continued 5-0.
I think you
Yeah,
were.
his screen blurred out about, I don't know, 5 minutes ago.
Okay, good.
He
All
actually
right,
may
thank
be
you
there.
very much for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
Chris.
you. Moving on to, I guess, 13. Right? Continued public hearing, notice of intent submitted by Ian Martin, LEC Environmental Consultants, Inc.
I think you just skipped 13, which is 50 Swampscott Ave, the Welch School.
I did.
That's what it says on my agenda. No,
Okay.
does it not, does it say it
Yeah,
on
yeah.
different on someone else's?
No, you're right, Lucia.
Okay.
Item number 13 is 50 Swampscott Ave.
Item 13. Okay. I'm looking at the red blue one. So, all right, item 13. Public hearing and notice of intent. I'm sorry. Yeah, submitted by Fred King, DGT Associates, For Mayor Edward Betancourt, proposed work as a rehabilitation of an existing school building with minor site improvements, including pedestrian walkway repaving, playground repaving, accessibility improvements, minor utility work, stormwater management, and landscaping. The property is known as 50 Swampscott Ave, map 104, lot 449, Peabody, Mass. Anybody have any comments?
I just promoted Vivian Lowe and Kevin Riapel. Is there anyone else in your team? Vivian and Kevin that needs to get promoted?
No, it's just the two of us. Thank you, Lucia.
Okay, and just if everyone who's not speaking, if you guys could mute your computers, because otherwise there's a lot of background and reverb and it's getting a little like I'm trying to mute you, but then it seems like when I mute you, you guys don't realize I mute you, and I don't want to upset anyone.
Lucia, are you there? All of a sudden, everyone's muted.
Yep, it's you're on the floor, Vivian and
Oh,
Kevin.
okay.
You guys
I'm
are
so
allowed. You're the
sorry.
speakers.
All right, thank you so much. I'm just going to do a very quick intro. We were here last month presenting the Welch Elementary School project, which is a renovation project with a very small addition. We do have last month's presentation if you would like the kind of a quick summary of it, but I think all of you were at last month's meeting, and so we just wanted to give you a quick update. At our last meeting, we did not have the comments back from engineering, but I believe we have that now, and Kevin has submitted that to Lucia, so I believe the commission now has a set, and we've updated the drawings accordingly and have responded, I believe, to all of Mr. Langley's comments. Kevin, would you like to?
Yeah, can everybody hear me? Sorry, I was bounced in and out of the meeting there. Sorry. Yeah, like Vivian said, we had received Mr. Langley's review memo. There were 8 items in the review memo, most of which were just ensuring that DPS would be on the site during utility installations, seeing excavations and whatnot. So we really took no exception to any of the items he had raised. We had updated our plans accordingly and resubmitted everything along with a response letter noting our responses to each of the items. So again, without boring people with all the details and going through each item, we really took no exception to his review memo, and we've responded accordingly. So, and I believe that was the only item we were waiting on at the last hearing, and I believe we should be all set according to Mr. Langley. So that's where we are today.
Stuart, are you gone again?
I'm sorry. There you go. Through the chair, I'm sorry. I've been muted.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. So we have your responses. We have the comments and your responses to the comments. And my question is, has DPS reviewed your responses and your changes to all your plans?
So as Mr. Langley issued his review letter, I actually spoke with him. We went through the itemized list that he had provided, and we had discussed all of the items. He was copied on our response package that was submitted. I don't have anything formally in writing from him. But again, I did speak with Mr. Langley, and we were in agreement over the phone as to how we would be responding to all of the items. And he was, like I said, he did receive a copy of the responses and updated plans.
Okay, so Lucia, you had you had a bunch of department comments, staff comments relative to planting plans and planting lists and so forth.
Yep, everything has actually been satisfied, and I have, I did talk to Bob Langley. I talked to him today, I talked to him yesterday. I feel like I can say with almost 100% certainty he is okay, as long as you guys add his conditions and his memo, that the memo, like, I would probably just add some conditions specifically, and then I would also attach the memo to the order of conditions for recording. But pretty much everything I asked for in my old comments has been satisfied. The erosion control sheet has been changed. The revised plans have the planting list. And I think those were in this, the stockpile condition is just one that I thought needs to get onto the order of conditions as well, even though it's shown on sheet 1.305. I think it's comment 6.1. I would add that as the condition, and I did give you guys a sample motion if you were open to closing and making a motion tonight. And if you want me to read those aloud, I will be happy to.
Does anybody else have any comments?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Want to make a motion? We can have
Anybody,
Lucia add the.
Anybody in the public, Stu, is anybody in the public there that want to speak on this?
I don't think so. I don't see anybody.
You have to by law, you have to ask.
Anybody
aloud.
in the audience want to speak? I don't see any hands.
Yeah, me
raised.
neither. So you could go
I don't
ahead if
see any
you're
hands raised.
ready, you can close it if you want to.
Okay, so this is a public hearing motion to close. The
I'll
public
make a
hearing.
motion, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
Roll call.
Yep, so motion to close made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Commissioner Comack. I'm gonna do a roll call to close it. Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack,
yes,
Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so it is closed 5-0.
Can I get a motion to issue standard orders 1 to 50 and adding 51 and 52?
I'll make a motion, so moved. The standard order conditions 1 through 50 and item 51 for the LTPP, the O&M plan, as well as conditions that Bob Langley wants to have. And Lucia, if you want to add that condition about the stockpiling. You said you're going to.
Yep, do you want me to read? I gave you guys a sample motion, and I also did share it with Kevin and Vivian, and I believe they agreed to the conditions. But for the record, I wouldn't mind reading it aloud, so even the audience is aware.
Go ahead.
It would be the standard order of conditions 1 through 50, adding 51, the long-term pollution prevention plan and the operation and maintenance plan, and the existing LTPPP and O&M are in perpetuity. Maintenance reports to be submitted annually on 10/31 once the system is online. Condition number 52, stockpiling condition as stated above per sheet 1.3.056.1, stockpiles of soil material shall be placed within areas that are protected per perimeter erosion controls as shown on this plan and shall be surrounded by proper silt fencing, fiber logs, or staked compost logs. 6.2, stockpiles that are to be placed for extended periods of time, more than 30 days, shall be covered or otherwise temporarily stabilized in accordance with the best management practices. Condition 53, erosion control should be inspected before work can commence. And 54, that would be adding the DPS memo and his conditions that everyone should have seen.
Do I hear a motion, or do I hear a second?
Well, I didn't make the motion. That was
No.
Yeah, I
just
made
what,
the motion.
Do I hear the motion? Okay,
Someone needs to second the motion.
I'll second it.
All right, so I have.
Roll
that-
call.
All right, so that was made by, those conditions were agreed to, and the motion was made by Vice Chairman Rizzo, seconded by Secretary Vivaldi. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes,
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack,
Bruce, wake up.
I'm up. You're killing me.
Yeah, Bruce, yes or no?
Yes.
got
Thank you.
Commissioner Trevicchio.
Yes.
All right, so the motion passes 5-0 with those conditions.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
Good luck.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Good night. Moving on. Continue public hearing for a notice of intent submitted by Ian Martin, LEC Environmental Consultants, Inc. for RJ Kelly Management, LLC. The current owner is Analogic Corporation, Andrew Prate, and the proposed work is the redevelopment of the property as a storage warehouse facility, including the raising and removing of all existing buildings and infrastructure, and the constructing a new state-of-the-art storage warehouse building with internal circulation, parking, loading facility, and supporting infrastructure. The property is known as 8 Centennial Drive, map 91, lot 6, Peabody, Mass. Anybody have any comments?
I have comments.
Go ahead.
So I read the peer review. Great. Where does that leave us?
Oh, there's a lot of unanswered questions. So there's, out of all the stormwater standard conditions, only 3 of them were met or accepted by the peer review. The others are still waiting for some further information, as far as that I can read.
That's right.
I would probably let the petitioner maybe speak.
Okay, are they here?
Yes. Hi. So unfortunately, for the record, Sean Smith, RJ Kelly Management LLC petitioner. Ann Martin, unfortunately, could not be with us this evening. She had a conflict. But I do have with me this evening Mr. Scott Cameron of Morton Cameron Group. He will speak to some of the stormwater questions. And I also have members of the client team with me if there are questions about operations. And Lucia, I don't see Suze King from BL Companies, who may also have some items to contribute tonight.
She's in the audience.
Yep, I just promoted her. Anyone else?
I think this is good for now, Lucia. Like I said, I think if we have any specific questions, I'd like to get Jack here as well. If there's any specific questions for Amazon, our client, then I think, we can promote them as needed. So I think it would be helpful tonight, obviously a large project, a lot going on, to just set the stage a little bit, discuss what we've been doing in the interim since we were here last month, and a few of the items that we should address this evening as we work towards resolving the peer review comments here in the coming month prior to next month's hearing. The first, I would just like to mention, we did have our MEPA scoping session. We did receive our MEPA certificate, and that did not require further EIR review. That has sort of happened in between the 2 hearings. We, on the heels of some of the comments we received from the commission last month, we did conduct some additional soil boring testing in the areas of the basins now that those locations are somewhat established. and Scott can go a little further into detail about the discoveries of those borings. And we did also, as you know, receive the peer review from Horsley Witten. We held a conference call actually yesterday with Mr. Pollitt's DPS and Horsley Witten to review those comments together and discuss some of the findings of the borings and contributions to some of those comments and how they may be resolved. So, like I said, Scott will go a little further into that. Lucia, I'd also like to address to LEC Environmental's letter dated February 3rd to the commission. The first being one of the comments we received from the commission that also translated through to the MEPA review regarding the lighting. And that's where we have Sue's here tonight in case there's further comments there. She is the lighting designer at BL Companies, and happy to discuss that further. I'm not sure if the commissioners have that letter in front of them now, but we can address that as we move forward here. But also our request, given the timeline of this project, for a 5-year order of conditions, as the current occupant continues to seek their new home, and that matches up with our timeline here for the acquisition and their turnover. So with that, I think I'll turn this back over to the chair, and allow you to discuss with the consultant team here any questions you may have about the peer review or further comments. But thank you.
Buddy?
Yeah, through the chair. I mean, there's a lot of comments on the standard conditions, stormwater management conditions, and so you said you had some discussions with DPS on this, but there's I don't know if you want to go through those and address those comments. I had reservations about some of the treatment ponds and the close proximity to refusal and ledge, and whether or not the inability, you have less than 2 feet of distance between the bottom of your treatment area and the top of the rock, that extra water, where it goes and whether that water becomes untreated. And so I don't know how we handle that. I'm not sure. And Horsley Witten raised those questions several times on the bottom of the ponds and near bedrock. Some of the borings that I looked at, I know one of them wasn't actually in pond number 3, but it was near pond number 3, and refusal was at 3 foot 7 inches, and your excavation was 9 feet at that location. So it seems like, how does this work? And so I don't know what the answer to that is.
Mr. Chair, if I could maybe interject, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
I had hoped to maybe present some of this to kind of steer off some of these questions ahead of time. If I could be, I could interject maybe.
Thank you.
Hi, so good evening. For the record, Scott Cameron with the Moore and Camera Group. Apologies for that. Following last meeting, Mr. Rizzo had commented on the soil information and being proactive. Although you hadn't asked us to go and do more work, we did actually get a boring rig out to the site, and they had a lot of fun in the snow, sliding around. But we did get more information. We got soil borings in the basin areas, and I don't know if I have screen sharing capability. Would it be okay if I share my screen? I can give you a little walkthrough what we did. Did that pop up?
It's coming. There you go.
All right, so I'll try to, I'm just going to zoom in just a hair. So you're right. And so when we initially did the, just give you a little background on the soils on the site and the work we have done on that. When we start working on a project of this scale, it's important to get out right away and get a feel for what is going on with the soil conditions. But this is usually happening, in this case, it did happen before we've really done any design work on it. We have rough concepts. We really don't quite know what we're going to do for stormwater management. And so we try to canvass the site. And what I did is I highlighted some of the soil boring locations, which you see in blue here. And this is what was included in the initial submittal for the project. And this is what we based a lot of our design on. And some of them are close by. So you can see this boring was close to the basin. This boring was close to the basin. This was close to this basin here. In a lot of areas, you know, this basin, we didn't have any directly in it, although we had one near. We didn't really have any information over here, and we only had one kind of nearby. So we had a feel for it. The soil information was very consistent as far as the type of soil on the site, which is a loamy sand to a coarse sand. So it's very well drained. It will vary between an A, which is your best draining soil, to probably a well-drained B soil. So they go A, B, C, D. So on the site, you have a lot of A and B soil. And then as Mr. Rizzo pointed out, that there's also a lot of bedrock on the site. And the challenge with bedrock is it does go up and down. It's very hard to predict where it is. And it's really just more information, the better. And that's why we tried to get more information in the basin. So we did go back out. The pink locations represent the new data we received. And again, this one ended up being in the buffer. When they were trying to get down here with the drill rig, with the snow on the ground, it did slide down a little bit, and they couldn't get back up the hill. So they dug one there and came back the next day and hauled out the rig. But the results were relatively consistent. And on the basins all on the right side, and this work is all outside of the buffer zone, but I say it only in the context of the entire project, because it does affect the whole watershed and everything we're talking about. But the soil data was very, very good. So we may have a little adjustment to do on this basin here, which is identified as P2, basin 2. We might raise that up a little bit, just bring it up the slope a hair. But these other two basins had 4 to 8 feet of well-drained soil beneath the bottom of the basin, which exceeds the 4 foot minimum that Mass DEP looks for. So we have really good results over on this side, and we're going to have a small adjustment to make, but not really any changes there. On this side, the information was actually a little interesting. This is where ledge kind of showed its head. So the two test holes in this location actually showed the ledge, the bedrock, very shallow, whereas the one we had relied on in the design, the bedrock was very deep. And so what we deduced is there's a ridge, a buried ridge that kind of runs through this area of the site. You know, probably the reason why they didn't excavate so much in this area when they did the initial build out. And so we're going to be doing a little adjustment to this basin here based on the new information. I don't expect any issues with that. And then on this one here, where we actually thought ledge was very shallow based on this boring. So we had decent soil data on 118, shallow ledge on 119. When we went 50 feet to the west, we didn't hit bedrock down for 18 feet. So plenty of soil here. And then it started to climb back up again around 8 feet on this boring. So where we didn't think we had permeable soil here, we actually do. So we wanted to make an adjustment to that basin as well. And actually the best soil we found was in that boring 204. It's a coarse sand, very well draining, and the water table more or less coincident with the wetland elevation, as you'd expect. So some interesting, things with the soil information. Nothing I would say it's going to make any substantial changes to the design. And we met with Janet Bernardo from Horsley Witten the other day. We talked through this. I think I heard the comment that only 3 of the standards were met. Really, the one we need to meet is getting more soil information. Janet was looking for the same data that Mr. Rizzo was looking for, and thankfully we were proactive in getting that data. So we did meet. There was really nothing. Lucia was on the meeting. You can certainly ask her her thoughts on how that went. But I felt the meeting went very well. I don't see any comments that we're not going to be able to address in the coming week or so as we put together a response to that. And I think the only thing I wanted to hit on tonight with regards to that, I'm just going to switch to another plan here, is getting back to this basin. So this was initially designed as kind of a hybrid detention, which is just holding water. And so half of it was detention, anticipating some rock, half of it was retention, which is infiltrating back into the ground. When in fact, we found out that we do have actually more soil to work with here, and this will infiltrate water. But it brings up an interesting conversation where we are, by design, we're pulling kind of the blue line here, which is a little hard to see, represents where the site's being actively filled, so it's being mulched, landscaped, and the pavement is right up near the top of this slope. We're pulling all that back, but we're adding a new infiltration basin. So this is vegetated, it's doing its thing in stormwater management, but it is in close proximity to the wetland. And as we come down here, we have relative setback from the berm of the basin to the wetland exceeding 25 feet. We talked about this with Janet in the meeting, and the stormwater handbook recommends 50 feet for a basin. This area in particular is what I would consider kind of a redevelopment area where we are removing pavement, pulling that back, making the land more permeable, and doing the best we can with that. And where we don't feel confident that we can meet the 50-foot setback, we can meet the 25. And I guess we could, let me backtrack. We could meet it if we put in underground tanks, which would be more of a vertical wall, and we eliminate all the slopes, but we don't like the structural approach here. We really would prefer the low impact or passive approach to stormwater management. What we talked about a little bit was taking some of this land, and the color green is not showing up as well digitally as I'd hoped. It looks a lot sharper on paper, but there's an area of this buffer zone, which is the kind of the brighter green, that is kind of grown back in. It may have been disturbed in the past, but it's vegetated. And then you have this olive green area that is, it's disturbed. It's actively landscaped, dumped, altered. There's some erosion going on with it now. And what we propose to do is restore all of the disturbed areas, even some of that that may be outside the limit of work, but clean it up and put back a pollinating seed mix in that area, which would promote and attract pollinators, so butterflies, bees, things of that nature, and also create a good kind of upland buffer edge between the active part of the site and the natural part of the site in the wetland area. And I'll defer back to Lucia on thoughts about that. She heard the conversation, but we thought this would be a good kind of remedial activity that it can be left. It needs to be mowed once or twice a year, because it really is intended just to leave it to kind of grow in its natural condition. And this type of habitat being more and more rare these days, wherever we can put this back, we feel it's a really positive thing, especially when we can do it adjacent to a wetland system with all of its natural habitat characteristics. So I didn't want to leave on that point. Maybe to talk a little bit about this, if you have any questions about this proposal to do some mitigation work along this edge. And what we're talking about here is we're looking to do more buffering and mitigation so that we can do this passive stormwater technique next to the wetland. And I'll mention also that this is an infiltration basin, but we are fully treating the runoff before it even gets to the basin. So we meet the total suspended soils removal requirement of 80% before the water gets to the basin. So all this basin is doing is it's functioning as a buffer for stormwater mitigation and groundwater recharge, which we view as the more important part of what this does. So that is a discussion point for us, I guess, on this buffer, what your reaction is to that proposal. As we jump into kind of making some adjustments to design, we have a chance to work this in. Mr. Chair?
That doesn't spill over. Isn't there a section that's protected or conservation land or something that was? There is, yeah, there's a conservation easement. Let me do my best to,
I can draw this out. Let's see what color I got. So there's a conservation restriction roughly, oop, that is huge, but you can see it here. So we are outside of that. But, you know, the kind of the worked areas of the site, you know, there's some disturbance that has crept in over the last 40 somewhat years into that area. This easement was put into place as part of the Centennial Business Park creation back in, I believe it was the early 80s, might have been late 70s, but these conservation areas were worked into that development. And there are a couple of them in the Centennial Park area. But yeah, this has largely been left, you know, as is.
Yeah, I think there wasn't nothing supposed to happen in there, but I'm not saying that. So is that something that you can do work in there, or we can't do any work in there?
It would be restoration work. That's all it would be restoring it back to a natural condition. We're not doing, the restrictions are, you can't develop it, you can't pave it, park it. It's intended to be left in a natural condition. And what's
the vegetation? And I know there's no maybe endangered species, but what's the vegetation and the effects of that vegetation? Like trees being cut?
Mostly, it's mulched landscape. So they kind of mulch down the side slope along the edge of the paving. So it's mulched, it's landscaped.
Okay.
And there's a couple of areas where, you know, around here we'll be doing some cleanup work. There, you know, there's some erosion happening, you know, because it's not properly stabilized, and it's just continued to erode over time, and they fill it in with mulch.
So is that something that could be addressed with MIPA if necessary?
Nope, that's MIPA. It's addressed right here. This is where we address it.
Yeah. I know once MIPA's on board, anything goes. You can raise any questions. That's happened to us on some projects, city projects, where once MIPA's there, you know, anything goes when people start asking questions and what we can do and what we can't do.
Yeah, they wouldn't really get into, it's more of an advisory process. It's not really, it's not a permit per se. It's more of, it's an opportunity for public Q&A. And where we say anything goes, yet you can ask any questions. We respond to everything that's asked. But that wouldn't have any, MIPA wouldn't have any applicability here. The CR goes back to the city, I believe. And Sean, stop me if I'm off track, but the CR goes back to the city and it protects the land. And I guess you as the Conservation Commission have the authority to, you know, if we're proposing, most of this is, the only area that's really in it is this little piece here. And we're just looking to restore that back.
Okay. Okay, I think my concerns were mostly confined to the soils that we talked about, and as long as your responses to Horsley Witten's stormwater management review, because they talk about taking credit for areas that you shouldn't have. And, you know, I don't have to go through those one by one, but you need to be able to address those and respond to those so we can see that those have been answered and accepted.
Based on our meeting, I expect we'll have a positive response from Horsley Witten.
Okay.
Do we want to hear about the dark sky presentation?
We'll go back to Sean.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. Is that a question for me or for the commission? I'm happy to have to see the Florida Sue's here to discuss the lighting design. If you would like to hear more about it, but
I'd like to hear more about it. Huh? Mike, what did you say?
No, I would like to hear it.
Okay.
Sue's, I guess Lucia, can Sue share her screen here?
all panelists should have the ability. If you don't, Suze, just let me know. And through the chair, they are not looking for an order of conditions tonight. They were just coming because they wanted to give you guys updates, these particular updates that we've been going through. So I just didn't want you to think they were trying to pressure you into closing the hearing just yet.
I didn't expect that, but I did want to hear a little bit about the dark sky resolution. Am I muted? No. Suze?
There she goes. Maybe she's just preparing her screen there for you.
Okay.
I'm working on one screen here, so it was a little different, but everyone can see my screen and can hear me, correct?
I can hear you. I can see the screen.
All right, so now, Suze King, BL Companies, for the record. And so one of the comments that came up is the lighting. And so all of the lighting on site is dark sky compliant. So all light goes down, none goes up. And so that's a pretty standard requirement that, you know, we're all hitting right now. And so one of the other items was a question about, you know, the light around the wetlands and, you know, potential with the, you know, the wildlife in the area. And so what we did is we went out to the site and took a look around. The lighting on site is fairly old. The lighting around the perimeter, around the other parcels nearby and around the, you know, other sides of the conservation area there are all the pretty typical LED lighting that we're proposing here. But what we did do is we took light measurements along the perimeter of the pavement, so the existing perimeter here. It was actually very exciting to see what an amazing plowing job they did, especially over here where nobody was plowing. So that was great. So I wasn't able to, you know, because of the, you know, snow and whatnot, I wasn't able to, you know, get much past the edge of pavement. But what we did is we went along the, I took measurements along the edge of pavement and then worked my way in a little bit in order to understand where the lighting is. And so how lights work are, you have your, you know, your light head that has a certain focus, and it's sort of like if you shine a flashlight. If you shine a flashlight at something, there's typically a circle of concentrated light. And so on lighting plans, that's shown as, you know, these solid lines coming around the lights here and coming around here. That's the area of concentrated flow of where the, you know, the light is directed. But then as you look at a flashlight, there's some ambient light as well. And so we took a look at that. And previously what we, as our standard design, you know, you can kind of see with what we have over here toward the beginning of the road that there's some, what we did is we took a look and measured between 0 foot candles and about 0.5 foot candles. And so that's the equivalent of, like, you know, 0 would be dark, 0.1 would be a, you know, a full moon light night. So it's dark, but you can definitely notice when it's the full moon and it's a little bit brighter. And then 0.5 would be like, you know, as dusk is turning into twilight is, you know, kind of the next phase of the night. It's, you know, everybody's definitely called in for, you know, street lights are on, but it's not quite pitch darkness out. And so that's the equivalent of kind of what this ambient light is. It's definitely not standing under a street light by any means. So we took a look at that and, you know, measured it to what we estimated what the existing ambient light was around the wetland area. And then we initially graphed ours, and we had certain lights that had a little bit more of a back, you know, kind of ambient area. Originally, we had those along this area as well, but with taking a look at the limit of wetland and then what the ambient light, the existing condition is, we revised a few lights along the edge here, coming around the corner, so that we can bring that ambient light back in, and so the light is designed with a more of a back shield. These ones do have shields in it, but because of the height, there is that somewhat of ambient on the ground. So we were able to revise these, and we were able to pretty much, it takes it from, you know, let's say 20, 25 feet or so behind the light to a really concentrated, it brings it in pretty close. And, you know, you guys will start noticing it on various parking lots you go to. There's sometimes you'll have street lights where all of a sudden you like walk right past the curb and it's just black. So that's more so of what we're putting along here because the edge of wetland came in. But, you know, for the rest of our, you know, over here, kind of what Scott was talking about earlier, where we have a little bit more flexibility. There's, you know, the detention basin in here. We can go more towards the typical, you know, for someone driving along here, it's a little bit has that ambient light, and, you know, for security purposes, you can see a little bit past the curb line here. And then over here, we just pulled that in. So does that answer questions and give a more than you'd ever want to know about lighting?
Almost.
What else can I answer for you?
No, I think it's, the only other question I have is are there automatic timers or light sensors on these units to shut them off when the sun comes up, you know, when it's daylight? Do you know?
Daylight, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
I can. I'm sorry. I thought Sean started
Oh.
talking. No.
Okay.
Go ahead, Susan, if you
go
have the
off
answer.
during the day. Yeah. So they're designed so that they do go, you know, off during the, you know, off during the day, conserve energy, and on at night.
So there is light sensors that do it. It senses the amount of daylight.
Correct.
You know, I'm not, so they're built into the sensor, Suze, or is it on an astronomical clock? I can try to ask this question of, the bottom line is they're designed to turn on and off with dusk and dark as the light levels change throughout the year.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, of course, it'll be a ways till we get there, but, and things may change, you know, design wise, but it sounds good now. Right?
All right. I'll stop by. If you control back.
No, answered my question. I'm all set.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anybody else in the commission?
I'm all set. Anybody in the public? want to speak?
Anybody in public? I don't see anybody. But attendees. I don't see any hands up. So.
Great.
I'm pretty much set.
So we're still waiting.
There was a questions from last time that we still have time to talk about it, but the O&M plan long term, and making sure we have an O&M plan budget in the project, and I think snow storage.
Right.
Yeah, well, we will provide answers to all the questions from Horsley Witten, and I think the meeting was very helpful. A lot, several of them were able to clarify just the misunderstandings or about design intent. For example, the emergency spillway comments about the elevations, that wasn't an error in the design. What that comment related to was we stress test the stormwater basins as part of our design. And the way we do that is we take our original model, which has everything designed to a 100-year storm, and we don't let anything overflow. We're not relying on an emergency spillway for the regular design. And then we take that same thing and we remove all the outlets. So we assume that the pipes are all blocked up and nothing's working anymore. And what happens in that situation to the basin? So we stress them out. And the numbers you see in there are the result of that stress test. So they're going to show a higher storm elevation. In that scenario, we want to make sure it's not going to top over the whole berm of the basin, that the spillway is big enough to accommodate those flows. So you'll see the responses to that in the letter. When we get that together, we're working on that now. And I think our hope is to be prepared for the 9th to maybe bring this home. And if there are any other questions we can address between now and the 9th, as we're making some plan adjustments, we'd be happy to do so.
Okay.
So we want to continue with this? Is that?
Yeah.
I want to first can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
No.
We don't
No.
want to close the public
No.
hearing,
We want
no.
to continue it. Okay. Give me a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to next meeting.
Thank you. Next month?
Second,
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go do a roll call. So motion made by Vice Chairman Rizzo to continue until March 9th, seconded by Secretary Vivaldi. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
yes.
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so it is continued until March 9th, 5-0.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. We'll see you in a month.
Thanks, Aaron. Have a great night.
Bye now.
The next item is 1113 Wallace Street. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Um,
You guys
the item-
continued it at a previous hearing until March 9th, so you do not need to read it.
It's right on the agenda, Stu.
Moving on, enforcement order violation orders. Violation order issued to Mario Chavez Lopez for alleged violation altering buffer zone local riverfront groundwork without a permit from the Conservation Commission or Mass DEP. The address is known as 156 Gooddale Street.
This should be continued because I have not been out to the site yet.
Well,
But unless you want to speak about, he's not here. I told him not to come.
no, it's fine. He was given a cease and desist, and we're gonna look at the property when the snow melts, correct?
Yes, I hope, I think he understands. He told me that he understood, so I hope he understands.
Okay, well, he doesn't speak English very well, but
Tell me where Gooddale is?
it's at the intersection of Gooddale and Lowell over by Big Y. But it's on
Oh.
Gooddale, just before you get to Lowell Street.
Yeah, way on the other side of Peabody. Okay, West Peabody, right, basically?
West Peabody, it's in West Peabody, and it's towards, in fact, if you continue going down Gooddale Street towards Lowell Street, across the street is Crystal Lake. That's pretty much exactly where it is.
Yeah.
The lot that's on the corner, we discussed already, that's the 629 Lowell Street. This is abutting it. So we'll wait until, I need a motion to continue then.
Motion to continue?
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Yep, so motion to continue, Rizzo, seconded by Bruce. Roll call, Chairman Lazares,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi.
Just a quick clarification, why is it being continued?
No.
Because you haven't been to the property yet. Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Yeah, okay, just clarification. Yes, I vote to continue.
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
So it is continued.
Yeah.
Unless there's more snow on the ground.
No more snow. Oh, we lost Stu again.
Stu, we lost your feed.
Can the city give him some reimbursements for?
Well, we're only gonna have one more meeting on Zoom,
know.
so it probably won't be a big
just-
deal.
I'm
He's
just
coming
curious.
back. Trust me, I would like to, but
There is.
I'm back. Continued discussion of violation order issued to M&R Trucking and Paving for alleged violation of washing fleet trucks with soap in riverfront area, draining the water contents directly into the river with no treatment or permission from the local commission or stormwater committee. The address is known as 119R Foster Street, Peabody, Mass. Lucia and I went out there and looked. Do you want to discuss it, Lucia?
if you do,
Yeah, go ahead. Well,
what do you want me to say?
I don't know. The
He's
guy
filing an RDA and he asked
Yeah.
for a continuance.
for April.
We met with his consultant. I can't remember exactly. I want to say it's Michael Matrowski or something like that. He works for some sort of environmental firm. So he called me and asked if we could continue this until he files an RDA. I guess I would just leave it on the agenda until they file the RDA, and hopefully we can just continue it at the March hearing, and then at the April hearing, it won't need to be on the agenda because there'll be an RDA for it.
Okay.
Okay, motion to continue.
Second,
Second,
roll call vote, please.
Yeah, I'm trying to write. I can't write as fast as you guys speak. Sorry. So the motion was made to continue it by Mike, seconded by Vivaldi.
Yes,
that's correct.
All right. So now I will do a roll call.
Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right. So that's continued.
The next item is our last item. Yay. Continued enforcement order issued to Pedro Polini for work located on 60 Warren Street Extension. Property owner has done various projects in Riverfront without permission from the commission. Most egregious issue is a failing retaining wall and stormwater damage drainage pipes into Proctor Brook. We're still waiting for an update from city solicitor. And so I would like to just take this off the agenda because we can't figure out, or the city attorney cannot figure out who owns the land. We don't know whether it's a city or somebody else. So I just like to take it off the agenda if that's okay.
How do you address the issue then?
We take it off the agenda and it goes away. Yeah. Once we find out who owns the land, we can bring it back as, damages to their property. But
Stuart,
Stuart,
if you take it off the agenda, you're right. It won't go away, but it'll never be brought up again.
It'll never get done.
I don't know what has to be done. I mean,
Maybe someone needs to survey the property and find out where the line is.
We know where the line is.
So through the chair, the issue is that it's either owned by the city of Peabody or it's owned by PMLP. So right now, the enforcement order is issued to Pedro Polini, but he claims that the city, someone at DPS gave him permission to do this work. So this has been on the agenda since a year before the pandemic. And then recently, since I want to say it was like October or November, Travis and Stu have been reaching out actively to the city solicitor. I have been reaching out actively since the new year, and it just doesn't seem that there is much concern at this point. So I just don't think it's just going to stay on here, and nothing's ever going to be dealt. I mean, the enforcement order is still open. I still have a file for it. Just because we take it off the agenda doesn't mean it would disappear. It means it would be in my file folder at my desk, and then hopefully someone in the city is concerned, because I don't know, it's just a very,
But
I'm
isn't
put
that-
in a very peculiar position.
I know, I mean, and we all are, we all feel this way, but it's our job to, look out for the resource
Find a-
area.
Find a resolution, right?
Yeah,
So
I
should
mean,
we issue an enforcement order to PMLP, because I believe that is who owns it.
there you
But
go.
it
There's
seems
the
like no
answer.
one can say for certain. So I'll reach out to PMLP and go from there.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
It's hard to believe that the city assessors don't know who.
Oh, it
owns-
literally says unknown on the map. If you look at the city assessor's map for that particular piece of property, it's like not known.
Yeah, there was some sort of a taking when whoa, do you guys hear that?
Yeah.
When the power PMLP was built. So there was some sort of a taking, and this was part of it. I have all the research. I've had this for years now.
Yeah.
And I know that Pedro does not own it. That's what I 100% do know. So Pedro technically did illegal work on city property or PMLP property. But the
Yeah.
issue is that this board is the only one that cares. I
Right.
can't get any, I mean, Will Pollitt came out and helped me, but he said, I'm not doing anything until the city solicitor directs me. So we're kind of waiting on the city solicitor, and he just doesn't have time to help me on this, unfortunately. But I think reaching out to PMLP, maybe that will start something, and
Yes,
they
I
can either
think-
say it's not them or it is them, or
I think you need to do that, and I think we should, and you can speak to the issue that this isn't going away. Someone has to address this. And you guys need to take care of it. Now, Mr. Polini probably doesn't have the financial resources to do anything about it. And although it might be his responsibility and he created the condition that it's in, I think we're gonna look to the, municipal light to help us out with this.
If they own it. If it's their property.
Yeah, I believe it is.
I don't know. I can't tell. But the issue is send them the notice, Lucia, and let them respond.
I'll probably just call or send an email to someone. I don't, I don't want to I don't want to be rude to PMLP. So I don't even know if they're aware of it. They drive by it all the time, but I'm just not sure how much they know, or if they even know that they own this property. There's probably a very good chance that they don't even know that this property is owned by them, because it sounds like we don't even know. No one really knows who owns it, but it's
Correct.
definitely not Pedro.
All right, then let's.
I mean, for the historically, I have suggested that if the city owned it, the city can put a lien on Pedro's house.
We talked about that.
Right, but if he doesn't own it, I mean, we have to figure out who owns it first before we put the lien on.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
the city doesn't own it, then we can't do that. So it's legal to do it, but if a city doesn't own it, we can't do it. That's all. So continue till next month, or?
So Stuart, if I live next door to you.
Yes.
And I dug a trench through your property.
Yes.
I guess PMLP, if we find out PMLP owns it, what they would do is say, okay, wait a minute, we didn't do this. We're gonna sue you for trespassing on our property.
Correct.
So
that's correct. But if I don't have the money to if I'm strapped for cash, there has to be some sort of arrangement made to pay for the damages or the repair anyway.
Yeah.
Somebody has to figure out who owns it.
someday that, that you could have a collapse there and something bad could happen, and we're going to be sitting here and say, we didn't do anything about this for 5 years.
Oh, it's definitely going to collapse.
Yeah, so
There
some-
will be erosion, and all of the pieces of wood that Pedro nailed in, not screwed, he nailed in, those are all going to fall into the river.
Yeah.
And with some earth, probably not a lot of earth. I think it is starting to vegetate. The last time I was there, the wood, I did send pictures. The wood is sort of holding it up. So it had time for some root systems to grow, but probably not much. But we just figured that we'd let it stay there and see what happens. And when it falls, hopefully people will be concerned with it. But yeah, it's frustrating for me because I've literally been working on this since like 2019.
Yeah. Well, let's try to reach out to Peabody Municipal and.
Yeah, do you want to maybe continue it? March is going to be a very long. It's already probably a midnight meeting at this point because tomorrow's my deadline and I already have 3 new applications. We have 8 Centennial Drive. We're going to have Salem Country Club. We have both of those Monroe Streets. We're going to have the other violation for 150. It's going to be a really long night. So I would suggest continuing this.
Can we continue this till April?
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm going to get anything done in a month.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, by April or May, the snow will melt, the ground will unfreeze, and we'll be able to see what the damages are. Right?
Yeah, so if you guys want to either continue it to April or May, whichever is your choice.
We'll continue to April.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call. Motion to continue until April made by
Mike and Mike.
by Vice Chairman Rizzo and seconded by Secretary Vivaldi. Roll call. Chairman Lazaris,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Rizzo,
Yes.
Secretary Vivaldi,
Yes.
Commissioner Comack,
Yes.
and Commissioner Cavicchio.
Yes.
All right, so that is thankfully continued until April. Thank you for giving me that time. And I think that's really it, except for the minutes. Only the December minutes are done, though.
All right, through the chair, can I just bring something up? I want to,
Go ahead.
so why, and again, I don't really know how we can do this, and I don't know if Lucia has the power to do this, but if she has she just already said, she can look at all the stuff that's on the agenda for March. And she looks at it and goes, this is crazy. This is going to take an hour and a half. This is going to take an hour. This is going to, can we extend?
What Lucia, before the meeting started, and certainly before you came online, we were discussing the possibility of holding 2 meetings next month.
That's right. So what I'm saying is, would it be easier for Lucia and better for us so that we're not going to be sitting here, till midnight and not really giving everything our due diligence. That's all.
I agree. I guess I'm looking for both.
I think if we pile everything on Lucia, it's ridiculous. Everybody gets everything to her at the last second. And we have these huge agendas, especially you have some big stuff coming in. Like she just said that. You have a ton of big stuff coming in. Salem Country Club, there's going to be a ton of people at it. There's going to be a ton of questions.
That's almost a meeting all by itself.
Yeah, at this point, the only one that we could have a separate meeting for would be for Salem Country Club. Because everyone else has already notified abutters for the March 9th Zoom. So we could, and Salem Country Club's already reached out to me asking if it could be a different day. So we could have, as long as we have it in March, we can have it via Zoom, specifically just the Salem Country Club. But unfortunately, trust me, I would love to kind of fluff it out and move things around. There might be like a certificate of compliance or something, some things that didn't require notice and legal ads that I could probably put on the same agenda with Salem Country Club. I just need to wait until the deadline's over and then double check. But otherwise, everything that we just talked about tonight, it all got continued till March 9th. So
You want to consider March 16th?
March
Maybe
9th.
break up the meeting, have 2 meetings and
Right.
just bring out.
yeah,
just
but so
make one
I
meeting be
can't do
Salem.
that. I'm
Salem-
telling you, everyone, like right now, anyone who's already submitted to me, they've already notified a butters certificate of mailing, and it already has the Zoom ID on it with March 9th date.
Okay,
So
but
real-
that's for everybody, but
But
Salem Country Club, can we?
Exactly. So Salem
why don't
Country
we
Club
just
could go on
create
its
a-
own. It can. And that's what I was hoping. Salem Country Club, and then like I know I have a certificate of compliance request that doesn't require notice to abutters, so that could also go on it. We would take that off. I mean, it's small, but
Yeah.
I could see what's going on. I
Let
don't
me
think
see.
March 16th would be good because it's the very next week. I would have to throw out some. I just don't know if. I mean, I guess I could because there wouldn't be any legal ads or anything.
Or
But-
the 23rd?
Yeah, which date works for everybody? Do either of those dates work?
Why don't we do the 23rd?
All right, I do need to I do need to make sure that this will be okay, because I just need to clear it with Kurt. I'm sure it'll be okay though.
Okay. I think it also might give, and again, I don't know. I thought you said, I believe, would it give you time also to go back out there if the snow's gone?
Yeah, if the snow is melted, it will. And I do want to go back out because the day I was out there, it was so cold. It was like under 26 degrees. We were out there for, I would say 2 hours. They were out there like 3 hours after me, and I couldn't even feel my hands. My brain wasn't really functioning great either because I was just so cold.
I'd like to, when you go out there, Lucia, I'd like to come along.
All right, yes, please. All right, so do you guys want to, I wrote down March 23rd. If for some reason it doesn't work, I'll get back to you. I was just hoping as long as we have it in March, we're good to do it Zoom. And I just think it might be the best way to do it, to have 2 meetings.
Yeah.
And then the December 8th meetings, the December 8th minutes are the only ones drafted if you guys would approve them or accept them.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from December 8th?
Motion approved.
Yep.
Second.
Okay.
And I would just do a hand raise because it's minutes. So I see you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. And so we're looking at doing only the Salem Country Club on the 23rd of March, or Lucia can add to that things that don't require notification of abutters.
Yeah.
Fine.
Sounds good. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion
Motion to adjourn, yeah.
Any second?
Second.
Raise your hand to say goodbye.
Wait, who? Rita made the motion or Mike made the motion? Rita made the motion. Who seconded?
Second, yeah. Yeah.
But who made the first motion?
Mike.
Okay. All right, thanks. The meeting adjourns at 10:09.
Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.
Enjoy your vacation.
Thank you. It's not going to be a pleasant one, but thank you.
Enjoy your time.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, PAT.